K Show on Yes is presented by Untuck It. Shirts designed to be worn untucked. Shop now at untuckit.com.
And a good... Good afternoon, everybody. This is indeed the Michael K. Show. We thank you for joining us on this Wednesday, November 27th, 2024. Michael, Don, Peter with you. The night before Thanksgiving, if you have not already departed for where you're going, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a lot of traffic, so we will get you through it with some info, some laughs, stuff like that, phone calls, the whole deal. We'll do what we do. And we'll try to make the ride a little bit easier for you. Hope you're all doing well. And can't tell you enough how much we want you to enjoy your Thanksgiving. So be safe driving today. Don't get into any driver rage or anything like that. Just do your thing. Sit in the car. It's not going to get any better if you pound that steering wheel. But we'll try to make it a little bit easier.
I like that. I like this version of Michael.
Yeah.
Calming presence.
Yeah, that's me.
This is almost.
I never think of you that way.
I've turned over a new leaf.
You know what this is? This is the Michael K. Be Wash Handy. The caring Michael K.
That's right. Be Wash Handy. I remember
I
that.
forgot about Be Wash Handy.
Yeah.
I'd like to forget about that time for sure, but that's one of the positive things that came from it. A great quote from Michael. The
Please
caring
stay
Michael.
safe, everybody. Stay indoors. Be very wash handy.
You don't hear that every day.
No, you should.
Know, it's not.
You really should.
It's an interesting version of what they call, quote, English that you did there. But you got it done, man.
Now, these shows, like right before Thanksgiving, sometimes it's corny. We give our thanks. We're not going to get into that. But one thing that has really stuck with me, and I've heard it a lot over the last year or so, is how much people needed us during COVID when everybody was at home. And I'm so thankful that, I mean, sometimes, I know we're working in the candy store or doesn't move the needle in terms of life, but for some it did. For some of it, the three of us goofing around and having fun and talking whatever sports there were really did impact people during the pandemic. And I'm so thankful for that. I don't know if you guys have thought about that a lot, but it's so humbling that we played a role in the slightest, tiniest role in helping people get through that. So thank you for allowing us to do that. Really, it means the world to us.
Well, that's why we don't joke about it. We're serious when we say that you're a part of our family. You have so many different choices, and you choose to hang with us for 3.5 hours every single day. So it means the world to us.
Even those of you who don't hang every single day, you say I can only take so much of them, but I hop in here and there. I appreciate you too.
Now, before we get into the bulk of our show, a really, really loyal listener of ours is Brian Francis Neary.
Yes.
Listens every day. Today is his wife Karen's birthday. She's 58 years old. She is going through some serious health issues, and Brian is trying his best to make things right. They're in tough shape, both of them. But just wanted to give a ray of joy to Karen, wish her a happy birthday. Hope everything turns around and things improve. But we're all thinking about you here on the show, so happy birthday,
Absolutely.
Karen, and Brian, hang in there as well. You're a good man.
We appreciate you guys so much for how much you love the show and you've supported us, and we certainly hope that somehow there's a ray of light this birthday.
And hopefully he was smart enough to lie about her age. If you're going to throw out the actual age, you got to dial it down.
No, I don't think you do.
Do her the favor.
I think truth is what will set you free.
Okay, we'll see if she feels the same way.
I'll be 58 next Saturday.
I understand, but you know what I'm saying, Peter, is that
Absolutely.
If she's truly, if she's 80, he did her a tremendous favor. If she's really 58 years old, 38? Why not?
I mean, he's 51.
All right, so the first big story in MLB free agency dropped late last night with Blake Snell signing with the Dodgers in a bonus-laden, like $52 million. Imagine Thanksgiving, you're getting a $52 million check. Nice. I mean, what does that even look like? And how much tax gets taken out? But it's an average of over $36 million a year. This is a guy who did not have the market that he thought last year. He's got the market this year. So, you know what? Two people that felt or might have felt that they got led down the primrose path by Boris. They've made big rebounds with Boris. Snell's one of them, and Matt Chapman, the third baseman for the Giants, is another one. So they've gotten their bag, so to speak, just a year later. Guy that didn't is Jordan Montgomery because he had a bad year last year. And he ended up, getting rid of Boris and taking on another agent. But the ramifications of the Snell deal, I mean, they're far-reaching. And I wonder how Yankee fans feel today, and you're more than welcome to call in. They used to be the big bad team who got everybody they wanted.
The evil empire.
They were the evil empire. And that's what the Red Sox called them. But now it's the Dodgers that get everybody they want. They got Yamamoto. They got Shohei. Now they get Blake Snell. They're putting together an unbelievable pitching staff. Everybody thinks they're going to get Sasaki, the 23-year-old pitcher from Japan. And this is a defending world champion and something that they've also mastered. I don't know why other teams don't do it. I'm sure there's a reason why they don't. They defer the heck out of money. I mean, they just and players accept it. And maybe that is a really astute way to get around the exorbitant taxes in California, where you take the deferred money in another state. Maybe that has something to do with it, but it also gives them a payroll and a taxable bill that's a lot more reasonable than if you had to pay Ohtani $70 million. He counts $2 million out of their pocket and $36 million against the tax. So it's just an amazing run by the Dodgers, and a lot of people think they're still in on Soto. Well, and I wonder how Yankee fans feel, because you were once the evil empire and now you're not.
I know. Just looking at social media, people wondering, should Major League Baseball investigate the circumvention of the luxury tax with this deferred money? And listen, the Yankees had no rules back in the day, and they did what they were allowed to do. But it is kind of rich if Yankee fans complain the Dodgers are getting all the players. That's what a lot of people around Major League Baseball were saying in the late 90s, when the Yankees seemed to get every player coming off of championships and still being able to get all-stars at every single position. I don't think it's good for baseball, Michael, especially if they land Soto, which I guess they still could. I mean, would Major League Baseball try to step in and do something? I mean, listen, the Dodgers just won their first championship that wasn't COVID since 1988, so it's not like they win every single year, but they're good every year. And when they can gobble up all these really good players, it's going to tick a lot of people off. Now, I don't know if this hurts them with Soto, whether they're going to land him or not, but right now it just feels like that's become the destination, and it does feel like they're finding a loophole in this whole luxury tax thing. And I just wonder, would baseball ever try to address it?
Well, I see the numbers that are being thrown out for all the big-time free agents. Snell, what Corbin Burns is going to get, what Max Fried is going to get, obviously what Soto is going to get. And I have a dire take on this. I really do. There's going to be shutdown of baseball, because never has in my time in baseball has there been more of a disparity between the haves and the have-nots. So, yeah, the rich teams like the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, the Dodgers, the Mets, they can compete. But there's no way that teams that don't have that wherewithal can play in this playpen. They just can't. And you can't say, well, you know what, their revenues are going up. No, their revenues are not going up, because the regional sports networks, other than the Yes Network and SNY and the Dodgers, they're going out of business. They went bankrupt. So these teams are not getting the same kind of influx of dollars. And there's going to be a time where all of these teams bound together, we can't compete, and we've got to shut it down until we get a salary cap. We just have to. And I think that's good. This market is going to be unbelievable. What Soto gets is going to be unbelievable, and it's just going to be more of a disparity between the haves and the teams that just have no chance.
And that's not what you want to grow the sport of baseball. If you're a Yankee fan, Met fan, obviously a Dodger fan, you're engaged because you can play ball. But just look at the teams that are involved with Soto. Outside of the Blue Jays, which that's not a small market, but it's not like a team that everybody thinks of. You've got the Red Sox, you've got the Dodgers, you've got the Mets, you've got the Yankees. If there were a salary cap, all the teams that had room under the cap would be involved, no matter what market they were in. And the ones that were not, they didn't manage their cap well enough, so bad job out of them. But unless you're in a big market or unless you've got an owner that's sitting on billions and billions of dollars, you can't get involved in this. And in the NBA, in the NHL, and even in the NFL, when a big player becomes available, there's a lot of teams that are involved. There's a little bit of a buzz. Is it good when you've got the biggest free agent we've seen in a long time and there's only 5 teams involved, and maybe by the time we get to the nitty-gritty, it's only going to be just 2, and they both happen to be in New York? Again, great for us because we're in New York, and the Mets and Yankees are always going to be relevant as long as that system is in place. But does it really work for the health overall of Major League Baseball?
Well,
we're back to where we were 30 years ago.
Baseball could not have a Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers signed Reggie White to a top dollar contract in a cap league because they've got just as much money as everybody else. They were able to keep Brett Favre for almost the entirety of his career. The same thing with Aaron Rodgers, paying them top dollars as quarterbacks. But small market teams in baseball, they know they have about a 6-year or 5-year window to keep the player before they become a free agent, and then they can't afford them. And I love what people are saying, too. I warned a lot of people in baseball this. Once you let in Dodger owners like Guggenheim Partners, who print money, and then you let in Steve Cohen, who has institutional wealth as an individual. Now, the Yankees are always able to flex during free agency because they have the highest revenue in baseball. Now you're bringing in people that don't care about losing money. They're not spending money according to the revenue they're creating. They're spending money out of their own pockets. Steve Cohen, if he gets Soto, is not going to do it from the revenue that the Mets generate.
No.
He's going to do it from his pocket. The Guggenheim Partners can do it from their endless pockets. I don't know if John Henry can. I don't know if Hal Steinbrenner can. I'm just not sure. So what baseball, in order to survive, is going to have to find incredibly wealthy individuals that this is totally a playpen for them, and there's no rhyme or reason to them making money or not.
Yeah,
and this is not sour grapes because I think the Yankees can compete in this environment, but it's a little tougher if you don't want them to dig into their own pockets. And I don't think that's fair to say that they should.
Michael, I'm rooting for a team that is benefiting tremendously by the way things are right now with Steve Cohen as the owner, and I don't think it's good for the sport. And I don't want to see it shut down the way the NHL did. NHL was in a very similar situation. Players didn't want a salary cap. The owners did. Owners didn't want to open their books. They had a couple of work stoppages, but they could not get the salary cap. Why? Because you had a lot of small market teams that could not compete. And those teams were very close to folding up. And we always hear, well, that'll never happen in baseball because look at all they're flush with cash. Well, you're starting to see a little tiny sneak peek into where we're starting to move in that direction with these regionals where all the big money came from are beginning to fold up and Major League Baseball having to prop them up. So the major revenue stream for a lot of these small market teams has now been cut off. So so there is the possibility, Michael, there's only so much you could charge for tickets. There's only so much merchandise you can sell. Baseball's television deal was the panacea, and especially with the regional networks, because they needed programming. You would see billion-dollar deals to some of these smaller market teams. Those networks have now folded because of that. So that means that revenue stream is going to be gone. Explain to me why baseball does not have a salary cap and the other 3 major sports do. Explain it to me.
Because
how?
Baseball has the strongest union, and that was a credo of Marvin Miller. They would never, ever curtail the market by agreeing to have a salary cap. And they have stuck with that through different leaders of the Players Association. That's been their thing. They would never accept it. But if they somehow feel that the only way we could survive is to have a cap and a floor, then they're going to shut down the sport for a year. I mean, it's crushing. It would be crushing, but you see salaries right now for the pitchers that are out there, for the players that are out there. At some point, there's got to be a tipping point. There has to be.
But, if Marvin was still with us, and believe me, that would be a contentious interview because we did have him on before he passed away, and he still, to the day he died, thought the PEDs were a myth. So he was a very difficult guy to argue with, but extremely intelligent. When that starts to happen in the 60s and 70s, Michael, the players were being taken advantage of. And now I think the worm has turned. And the thing was, well, don't feel bad for these billionaire owners. Look at all the money they're making. Nobody feels bad for them. But when Marvin Miller was doing this, the owners were sitting on piles of cash the players couldn't get involved in. They were all self-sustaining. Now, does it seem fair that somebody that's worth $20 billion can dig into his own fortune and blow everybody else out of the water? That just doesn't seem, as much as it benefits the Mets, it doesn't seem right. And it wasn't fathomable 50, 60 years ago, but now it's the norm.
There are outside forces at play here, too. So look at Peter Seidler, the former, the late owner of the San Diego Padres. He signed all those players, Bogarts, Tatis Jr., Machado. The San Diego market can't afford that kind of salary structure, but he did it because he knew he was dying, and he wanted to win a championship for San Diego. If he remained alive, Soto would have signed with the Padres because he just said, give them what they want. But this was a wealthy man who knew that he was ill and didn't have long to live. So that changed the salary structure, giving Bogarts a 13-year deal. Lunacy. Yeah. Lunacy. Same thing with Tatis. Same thing with Machado. And that's why they had to get rid of Soto, because they could not afford that payroll, even though San Diego's a great sports city. They sell out that great ballpark all the time. It's according to how the revenue support the payroll, and they can't. The Yankee revenue can support this payroll. But what we keep saying, the Guggenheim Partners, which is a hedge fund in L.A., they can pay whatever they want. And they're pushing all this money 10 years down the road. I mean, somebody's going to pay the piper at some point. The same thing with Steve Cohen. The Mets don't have – the Yankees make almost 3 times as much revenue as the Mets. If the Mets get Soto, it's because Steve Cohen's going into his pocket. That's all there is to it. If it's based on payroll, the Yankees will get him. If it's based on what an owner wants to do for his playpen, it's going to be Steve Cohen.
And it used to be, well, don't blame the Yankees. They're worth so much more money because they happen to play in New York and they win all the time. So there's nothing really you could do about that. But when you start getting these billionaire owners that are dipping into their own money, then now it just becomes unfair. Now it's not even about markets, because you said San Diego is still a small market. You know, Steve Cohen could have very easily bought the Miami Marlins if he wanted to instead of the New York Mets and be in a similar situation.
Yep.
So, and the deferments on top of that. You talk about the Guggenheim, but now you're getting these players that agree to deferments. Now you're circumventing the rules that are already in place. So the reason we bring it up is not so much to feel bad for the Yankees or Mets, because you don't, because they're still in great shape. You feel bad for the smaller markets, but for the people that don't care about the smaller markets, because I'd always hear that. Like, why do I care about what's happening in Milwaukee? If they can't afford a team, let them fold. All right, well, number one, you need somebody to play. And number two, you're going to get to a point where the NHL got where if they're willing to cancel the season, Michael, to get what they want, that's not good to see no baseball being played because of it. And if you don't think that's possible, look what COVID. They didn't have to play just 60 games, Michael. They could have played 100 games. That had nothing to do with COVID. That came down to them not wanting to come to an agreement. So if they get to loggerheads over this and the owners are willing to sacrifice a season to get what they want, and if you've got more teams than not that are looking to make change, which it's starting to look like there's a lot more have-nots than haves, and they're willing to sacrifice a season, that's when the Met fan and the Yankee fan loses, because then there might not be a 2026 season.
Let's go to Joe in Yonkers. Joe. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Mike, Don, Peter, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Doing well. So I don't want to overreact over this Blake Snell signing, and, you know, the threat of Roki also signing with them is a little bit alarming. However, I will say this. If the Yankees, you know, stay pat, they keep Judge, they don't sign Soto, I still think they're going to be able to be dominant in the American League. I don't really see a threat per se in the American League. But, however, if those CBA negotiations don't go well in 2026, I do think this has to be brought up. I know it probably will never happen, because why would you ever do it? But I think Hal might have to consider selling part of his shares to a billionaire, wealthy owner like Steve Cohen, someone who's, like, rich beyond anybody else's means, so that at least they could compete with other teams like the Dodgers and the Mets. Because, frankly, I don't think Hal is willing to go past a certain amount, and that's fine. I don't think he should. If it's still his money. But in the end, if the Dodgers are going to be deferring all their money and then spending an exorbitant amount of money on their salary, I think it's a conversation that has to be whether or not, how should at least sell or consider selling part of his stake so that someone else who has more money can afford to do these things and match up with the Mets and the Dodgers.
But one thing, Joe, I mean, the Steinbrenner family, I might be off by 1% or so, and we thank you for the call, owns about 48% of the Yankees. So there are other investors in there that do have money. And Hal has money, too. I just think he's responsible about the way he doles it out. He always has one of the top 3 payrolls in all of baseball. And I know there are going to be people out there where they have the most revenue, so they should spend the most. But there are onerous taxes and penalties if you go over certain thresholds. And the Dodgers, with their deferments, they're working around those thresholds where they're not hindered by giving out these big contracts. Because the big contracts only count X when they're actually worth something else, but they count X against the payroll. Maybe the Yankees should look into that as well. I have no idea why teams do deferments and why teams don't. I guess some of it has to do with deferring contracts and then maybe possibly selling a team. The Dodgers aren't going to sell.
No.
Steve Cohen's not going to sell. Who knows? I mean, there are teams that might be like the Nationals. They deferred a lot of the contracts of Scherzer and of Strasburg, and when the Lerner family tried to sell the team, they couldn't get a buyer because if you're going to sell the team, the buyer has to assume the deferments. So it lessens the value of your team. I'm sure that's part of it as well. Gary in Manalapan, what's up, Gary?
Guys, first of all, happy holidays.
Same to you.
Hello.
All right, Gary.
What a show today. Donnie and Mike, you guys are making such great points. This is so true. They're rich people, these rich guys, like the hedge fund owners, the Guggenheims or whatever their name is, they contaminate everything in the world. Do they have to contaminate a beautiful sport like baseball? There's nothing like winning a championship and on an even field. Peter must be so happy about his Washington Commanders this year. It's really upsetting. I don't want to win a championship because I got every great guy in my neighborhood on my kickball team. I want to win a championship because my coaches, the manager's a great manager, and it's made up of an even, like an even playing field.
No, I hear what you're saying.
No, it's true.
And one advantage, Gary, that Guggenheim has, I'm not a great investor. I mean, I'm a money in the bank guy. I'm an idiot. Okay, I just am. I know that because I don't like to take risks. When you're born poor, you don't like to take risks. But the Guggenheims, with that deferred money, so they have $68 million of Ohtani's contract every year to invest. If you're a smart investor, they say even a bad smart investor makes 10% on his money. They could make that $68 million work for them where they owe them absolutely nothing. That's what they do for a living. So that adds another layer to it. They're taking that money and they're investing it. And that's how the Mets used to operate under the Wilpons when Madoff was giving them a 10% return every single year. So they took Bobby Bonilla's money, they took all of that money, put it in Madoff, and they get 10%, and it was like they were getting the player for free. But then when Madoff went out of business and got arrested, that all crumbled as well. But I don't think it's going to crumble with Guggenheim Partners.
But you can't have the thing about the salary cap, Michael, is you'd have to have a floor. So all these teams that would just take the revenue sharing, put it in their pocket, have no payroll like the Rays and the Marlins would have to then sign free agents. They would have to make deals to bring money in to hit the floor. That's what I would tell these players is that you think that we're capping your money, but we're also giving you other opportunities to sign other places and make money elsewhere because there are going to be teams that aren't spending money that now would have to. So what's the Rays payroll, Michael?
I think it's about $83 million.
All right, $83 million. So let's say the floor was $120. That's $40 million they'd have to go out and spend during the offseason. You don't think that helps the players?
And that's why negotiations in baseball are always so tough. Because it's not just the owners against the players, it's the owners against the owners against the players. So there's different factions of owners that war against each other. Those teams, they don't want to have a floor. The Oakland Athletics, the Athletics don't want to have a floor. The Rays don't want to have a floor because they have to spend more than they do. So I see a baseball Armageddon coming, and I'm afraid for it. I really am. When you see contracts like this, and one other thing that we should mention, the Dodgers getting bigger and stronger and flexing more. You know what that affects? The Mets. Doesn't affect the Yankees. The Yankees would just have to beat the Dodgers in a 7-game series to win a World Series. The Mets have to get past the Dodgers to get to the World Series.
That's right.
So Met fans should be the most concerned. The Yankees get to the World Series, anything could happen in a best of 7. And I guess you could say that about the Mets in an NLCS. But every year the Dodgers are going to be there the way they're stockpiling talent. So that could cause some pain. And Don, what happens when you have pain?
I see what you did.
Yeah. Well, friends, go see Dr. Jay Shine's double board certified.
They had on Rex Ryan. And Rex was asked how he would fix the Jets. Listen.
I look at it this way. Blow it up. We're going to blow the opponents up. There's way too much talent on this team to play the way we've been playing, period. And how hard can you get a guy to play? That's the thing. Like, nobody's seen a team going to play the way as hard as this team's going to play in the future. Trust me, if I'm the guy. Trust me. And that's going to be it. That's what's going to separate me from all these other guys you're going to bring in. You know, your Grudens, your whoever, whatever. Give me a break. They ain't New York Jets. I'm all about the Jets. And the great thing is, all right, yeah, second chance. You get a second chance at it and things like that. It doesn't happen very often. Yeah, well, when it does, it's usually special. And so we'll find out if I get that chance or not. If not, then, you know, hope they have one hell of a guy in place because I still want to be a fan of the Jets. I still want to be. But, you know, when I look around, I know nobody's better than me.
Listen, I like Rex Ryan, and he's probably going to not like what I'm saying. It's beneath you. I mean, you're politicking for a job on the radio and on TV? Really, you think that's going to move the needle for Woody Johnson? I mean, you're practically begging for the job. You're saying you're better than Gruden, whatever the case may be. Call up Woody Johnson, make the case for it. What are you doing? This is so unusual and untoward. This is not what people do. I don't understand it. I don't understand why he would lower himself in this. Also, I know this means very little because the lines are completely blurred in our business now. You work for ESPN. ESPN is we, not the Jets. The Jets aren't we. You don't get a paycheck from the Jets.
It's a bit that's a bit weird. It's all a bit weird. Let's be honest, it's weird. But I don't know, because it's Rex, I find it endearing for some reason.
He is somehow more charming than most would be.
He's always been this way, Michael. And here's why I'll give him a break. He's not some 40-something who's got a bunch of different kicks at the can. He knows that his chances are very remote to be a head coach in the NFL again. You know, he tried to be the defensive coordinator in Dallas. Didn't happen. He's getting older now. The longer you work in this business, Michael, the opportunities start to go. Remember, Cowher will be back, and he was never back. It's, 20 years at CBS. Yeah, and the one chance he has to be a head coach again is with the Jets.
Okay, but why beg for it on the air?
Because that's what he wants to do, Michael.
But it's not the right thing, John.
But you say you're
saying it works for you because it's Rex. Well, that might play against him. It's clown-like. You're begging for a job on the radio.
But how does it hurt him? I mean, clearly, and I think he's very good at it. But clearly, he's not in love with doing television for the rest of his life. He wants to coach again. And part of the charm of hiring Rex is how much he wants the job. Like, I think that's why he's tugging at the heartstrings of the fans. And right now, I'm sure Woody's in full PR mode now to try to make the fans happy after that article a couple of days ago, where he really wants this. He's not going to use the Jets as some vehicle for something else the way Rodgers did, or coach here for a little while and then go parlay it into another gig someplace else. He is all about the Jets, wants to be the Jet head coach. His dad won a Super Bowl with his team, for God's sakes. Like, the last success they had was with him. And I think part of the reason he might get hired is because the fans are going to want him because he wants to be a Jet so bad. What did we talk about yesterday, Michael? Who's going to want this job the way Woody meddles? Who's going to want this dumpster fire? Rex wants it. So, yeah, the only thing that might hurt him is being respected on television. I don't think Rex cares about that. I think he desperately wants to coach in the NFL again, and he knows the Jets are his only chance, and acting this way is probably his best chance to get.
See, I disagree. I think acting this way plays against them.
I completely disagree. Maybe with other organizations, maybe for other jobs, but for this one, I think
also,
that's exactly how you play.
How do you think it makes him feel? Listen, Jeff Albrecht's not coming back.
Right.
But it hasn't been announced that he's not coming back. The guy has a job right now.
But we've always said this before, Michael. Interim suggests that.
But I get it. But nobody said he's not coming back. So have some decorum. It's not a good look.
But he is saying if, and he's talking about if I get the chance, if they were to look for another head coach. I mean, I think everybody understands Albrecht was an interim head coach. He's won one game since being the interim head coach. He's not coming back. So it's not like he's petitioning for a coach. If this were Saleh, that'd be a bad look. But right now, an interim head coach that we know is not coming back.
He killed Saleh a couple of years ago until they met.
Hold on, and we jumped him for it. Because that's the one thing I'll say about Rex. Dude, all right, why do you feel like anytime somebody says a defense is great, it's challenging you? But he's boastful. This is a guy that didn't know what his roster was going to be and sign the ESPN truck future Super Bowl champion. Like, that's just him. And that's what the fans love, and that's what's endearing about him. If this had been anybody else, Michael, I'd say, yeah, this is not.
So you're grading him on a curve, Don?
Yes.
Because he's wacky?
Yes. He's wacky, and he wants this gig, and he's in his 60s, and it's his last chance.
Wacky, in his 60s, last chance. Also, it's not like he was bad here. He was good here. He's not trying to drudge something up that would be a disaster. I mean, he was a good fit here, and I think Don really nailed it. For this particular owner, Ambassador Johnson, I don't think this plays bad. I think the sort of kind of clown show nature of it's kind of bizarre.
That's the thing. A lot of the potential coaches don't know Woody Johnson. He knows Woody Johnson. He knows what works on Woody. I mean, Rex is not dumb, Michael. I know he kind of comes across as the football guy and only knows football. He is shrewd. So I'm sure if he's doing it this over the top, he realizes this is exactly what Woody Johnson probably wants. I think he's got a real shot at this.
I don't.
I do.
I really do. There's no way. There's no way.
Thank you.
I mean, but you're grading him on a curve. You don't think it looks like desperate?
Oh, it definitely. Yeah, no, Don, you can't argue it looks desperate.
No,
it looks desperate.
But I do think that Woody's going to listen to the fans. He's holding his hat right now, PR wise. I mean, would it be that bad? We talked about he should be doing a tour.
How much were the Yankees laughed at every time they brought back Billy Martin? How much? Right. And he won a World Series. Every time they brought him back, it was a laughing stock.
I don't think it was a laughing stock the first time. The seventh time, it got to be a bit of a joke. But
how many was it? Literally 5.
But it got to be a little cartoonish, but Art Shell went back in Oakland. We saw Gibbs go back in Washington, and maybe we need to dig deeper. It wasn't a complete failure him going back to Washington. They won the division.
Gibbs was the best coach they've had.
So and again,
return of Gibbs, that is.
So. I think if you polled the fans, I think a lot of them would be happy with this. It's a guy that wants the gig. And we just came off of talking about who would want this gig. And there's a guy that the last great head coach they had was him, who desperately wants the job.
But there could be guys out there that have never had a shot that desperately want it, but they wouldn't, just embarrass themselves and like go on your knees on TV and radio to beg for the job. It's a bad look, man.
Michael, you never in all your days, ladies and man that you were, there was never that particular lady that you said, I just got to all out beg.
No.
That's just the only option I have.
You know why? Because
we don't know.
You know why? Because it would have been embarrassing.
Sometimes it's worthwhile.
Here's the thing. All right, and answer genuine. Look at me. Yeah, metaphorically or whatever.
I'm looking right at you.
No. But it would land. You knew it would land.
If you knew it would.
No, because again, you're grading on a curve because the Jets are a lunatic organization. If it was a woman who had any semblance of pride and a man was begging for her, it would not land.
But that's exactly.
So you're going for the lunatic woman.
And that's exactly what Rex is doing.
Yeah, but
he's going for the lunatic franchise.
But the lunatic woman is still in the NFL. It's still an NFL job. There's only 32.
Didn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm wrong a lot. When he took the Buffalo job, this is the last job I'll ever have in the NFL, guaranteed. But go find the cut. It's the last time I'll ever coach.
Times change.
And Woody did fire him.
I know, but I think he's got a real shot. I do. And would it be that ridiculous? Again, I think you could find a better coach. I like Rex, but he's not an offensive guy. I'm not saying it would work. But right now, I don't know how many people are going to be really lining up for this gig after we just found out that Woody Johnson basically is running the franchise into the ground. So, yeah, there will be people that will interview for the job and want to take it. But
so you want the desperate guy.
But it's desperate, but he did go to 2 championship games with him. Again, I don't think the NFL, I don't like hiring defensive guys because I think it's an offensive league. But the guy wants the gig. I think he'll add a little personality. And here's the thing that makes it attractive, Michael. He's all about the Jets. He's not some guy that's just coming in. It's an NFL job. Yeah, Gase looking around like a butterfly's flying in his face, or a guy that's looking to get another gig suggested by somebody else. Or a quarterback coming in here just using your franchise as a vehicle to go someplace else like Brett Favre did, like Aaron Rodgers does. Transient team, not respected. Here's a guy that loves you. He's got a tattoo of one of your quarterbacks on his arm. His dad won a Super Bowl with your team. There's a lot of things that kind of trend towards a fan kind of rallying around him. And I think the fans would want it, and I think Woody would probably do it. And if it gets Rex in the door, then I think it's worth doing. It really is. He's Rex Ryan. I think people expect.
But I'm sure he has Woody's cell phone. Do it privately. Rex, Woody, I want this job, man. Instead, what are you doing?
But honestly,
you're on your knees publicly.
But you look at that as a negative, which I get because it looks like you're begging. But to the person that wants to hire, they look at that and go, well, he really wants this job.
And it's not as if it was probably worse earlier in the year when he was hinting at it while Coach Saleh had the job. That was, to me, a little like, all right, Rex, let's settle down. But now everybody knows Brick is not the future of this team.
We love Jeff Van Gundy. And maybe he went too far, as Don always says. He would never comment on a job.
And he doesn't get a job.
But guess what? He never got a job. So
he took it too far. But that's Jeff. I mean, he's able to do that because he's a different type of person. And I guess he was cool with doing what he was doing for a living. And then how did that end?
But I'll give you this, though. The perfect way to handle this, yesterday, Mike Tannenbaum was on our station, and he was asked straight out, would you want the show? He said no. You don't think he would take the Jet GM job again? But he has a decorum about him.
Because that's Mike.
I get it. That doesn't make it right because you're nutty.
But all you need to be, Michael, because what you're talking about are optics. All right? It's a bad look.
And it's also a bad look for other coaches. The other coaches take note.
Rex doesn't care about other coaches. He cares about coaching himself, okay? He doesn't care about the optic, and he's also in character. This is him. He's being himself.
You want me to win the whole thing? You want me to win the whole thing? Michael, what's the worst thing that could come from him acting this way?
He looks like a fool.
What's the best thing that could come from it?
I don't think the best thing. I know what your answer is. You think my answer is he gets the job. I don't think he's going to get the job because of this. He'll get the job because Woody wants to give him the job. This is not furthering his cause.
But if in any way it outweighs that, the reward so outweighs the risk for Rex.
Right, and Michael, do you think this is going to hurt his standing with ESPN?
Yeah, this is kind of part of his gimmick.
Gimmick calling we for the Jets when you work for us?
But dude, they knew what they were getting in Rex.
They didn't know they were getting a coach. When have they ever had a coach that's begged for a job on the air? Ever? When Gruden was on, did he ever beg?
Are you shocked by this?
What?
Are you shocked by this? This is Rex. Rex, when he went to Buffalo, says, "Where's the neighborhood where the lake effect snow is? That's where I want to buy the house." Like he's all in, man. He can't help himself. So when you hire Rex Ryan, it was like when our company hired Rush Limbaugh, and then he said something controversial. You go, "Oh my God, what did you expect?" When you hire Rex, this is what you expect. And you think that if Rex embarrasses himself, doesn't get the job, that's going to affect his standing at ESPN? He'll still be on Get Up. He'll still do all the
I don't
shows.
think it's good.
They're not going to let him go.
I agree, and they shouldn't. But, I mean, if I'm in the hierarchy of ESPN, which I'm not, I would call him in and go, okay, let's tamp this down a little bit. Let's not be begging for a job on our air. Let's tamp it down a little bit. You made your point. Now stop.
I don't know, man. I mean,
you think it's good? You think it's good for ESPN to be using our platforms to beg for the Jet job?
Honestly,
yeah.
I think our company loves it, especially if he gets the gig. You don't think it makes ESPN look good if one of their former guys goes back to the Jets and is the coach? And I guarantee you, Michael, if he gets fired in 2 years, they'll probably hire him back.
Well, he's good on the air. I'm not saying that.
So that's the thing.
I'm saying this is an awful look for him.
But, Michael, you're living in Edward R. Murrow territory. That's off the board, man. I don't think anybody at ESPN right now is upset with Rex Ryan.
You know what?
Be yourself.
That's totally secondary. What I'm saying is it makes him look bad, I think. You think it makes him look cute.
I think what it's doing is giving him the best shot at the job that he wants. And I think most people, especially Jet fans, eat it up. And I think a lot of people that aren't Jet fans think it's endearing. Like, I think that there's a few people that agree with you. And I don't doubt that, but I think it's the minority of the people now, Michael. I think your point would have been, you would have nailed it 25 years ago. I think in the world that we live in now, this is kind of the way it works.
I just can't knock the man. He didn't just do it for the Jets job. Early in the year on Get Up, they talk about how bad the Cowboys defense was. He'd say he could do that job as well. And
he apparently interviewed for the job.
And as someone who literally, I don't know whether it's classy. I don't know whether it's smart. I definitely have seen my share of jobs on TV and said out loud on the air, I should get that job. I would have been awesome at that. I don't know if it's classy. It's authentic, though. It's who the guy is. He really wants to do it. He's a football coach. Born to a football coach, die a football coach. It's who Rex is.
I think if he gets a Jet job, then he already knows he has it. This is not helping him get it. Maybe he's had a conversation with Woody. Woody goes, you know, it's going to be you. And now he's just playing it up. But doing this is not furthering his cause.
See, I disagree with that. If he knew he was getting the job, I don't think he would do this.
Yeah, I think he'd be quiet.
But I think he doesn't know, but he thinks this is the best chance to get the job. If I'm weighing it, how it looks to some people is not even on the table as far as trying to decide to do it.
Well, you're talking about his age, all right? So Bill Belichick is 71 years old. He's on every single thing that actually uses electricity to go on the air and has never, ever politicked for a job this year. Not once.
He's in such a different position, man.
But nobody's ever done this. You see Jason Garrett doing it on NBC? Nobody does this.
You know, Don, Don, do you know who...
Does Bill Cowher do it on CBS? No.
Don, do you know who Rex's dad was an assistant for?
No, the Jets.
No, and who else?
Oh, the Cardinals.
I'll tell you the moment the Bears got Jim McMahon.
Well, the Bears. Yeah.
Sorry.
And he hated him.
He's going to be 62 years old. He's not that old. But when you look at the coaches that get hired, he probably feels like this is his last chance to get a head coaching job. Nobody's going to hire
But I'm not saying
that the only team that will find it attractive are the Jets.
I'm not saying he shouldn't, Don. He should go for the job, but this is not the way to do it. I agree with you. Go for the job. Call up Woody. I want the job. How is this public dancing like a bear on a ball? How is that helping him?
But you keep saying, how is it that? Because I think the fans would love it.
The fans? Really? How's Woody doing listening to other people?
Well, because Rex is trying to figure out what's the best way to get this gig.
How about picking up the phone? How about picking up the phone?
I'm sure he's picked up the phone, and I'm sure Woody probably said, you'll be in consideration. Okay, well, why not continue to try to milk it? You keep talking about it's not the way to do it. Who says?
It's never been done this way before.
But if any of those other guys you mentioned did it, it would hit differently because of who they are. This is what Rex is. He's giving his best asset. One of the reasons I think he's in consideration, the main one is because the last time they've been to the playoffs, he was the head coach. The other is he's passionate. He loves the team. And we just came off a conversation how unattractive working for Woody Johnson is going to be for the next coach. Sure, there'll be guys that'll line up because there's only 32 of these gigs, but it's not as attractive as other jobs. But to Rex Ryan, him wanting it this bad, I think is really going to win Woody and the fan base over.
Well, we'll see. I guess we're not going to convince each other. I think it's an awful look. You think it's productive? We'll see. I don't think there's any chance he gets this job. Any. So if he doesn't get this job, he's embarrassing himself. He's setting himself up to be embarrassed. He begged for the job on national television and radio, and then he doesn't get it? How does that make him look?
I mean,
looks like the Jet head coach, which he wants to be.
I said if he doesn't get the job.
But even if he doesn't get it, I mean, it's sort of like a friend of mine today, my trainer Joe, was saying, he was like, "Oh, the Tyson fight, he completely tarnished his legacy." I said, with all due respect to a person who I love, I think you'd have to be out of your mind to think he didn't already tarnish his legacy. Things have already happened, right? Like, Rex is who Rex is. Mike Tyson had already bit Evander Holyfield's ear. He was never going to be considered
in prison for rape.
There'd already been things that have happened here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but again, I don't want to compare what Mike Tyson did to Rex. But this is who he is. And as far as you say, getting up if he doesn't get the job, he petitioned for the defensive coordinator's job of the Cowboys. Still on television. If he doesn't get this gig, he'll still continue to do, and he'll probably destroy the guy who gets the job. That's Rex.
I guess there's something to be said for not having a gene that allows you to be embarrassed. But there's something to be said.
I think you're exaggerating him getting embarrassed. Why would he feel embarrassed?
He begged for the job and didn't get it.
So what? But at least he showed that he really wanted it.
Again, but he could have done that in a private phone call with the owner of the team. But so he's trying to politic on TV for it? Why?
But here's the question. Is anyone else offended by this but you?
I think people around football think it's really, really untoward. It really is bad.
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
I don't know. But he's not trying to get a job with other people in the NFL. He's trying to get a job with the Jets. I'm telling you, it's worth it, Michael, for him. What's the worst that can happen? He doesn't get it?
And Michael said he gets embarrassed.
But I don't think
he can be embarrassed. Maybe you're right. He can't be embarrassed.
And if he came on the air and you'll at Rex, you embarrassed you didn't get a job? He's like, no, I wanted a job. I tried hard to get the job. I think they made a mistake not hiring me. Let's move on. I don't even think it's a gene of not being embarrassed. It's weighing your options and saying, is it worth being embarrassed to get my dream job back? And the answer is yes.
But before we break to go to ENN, in your vast memory of sports, in every line in every movie that's ever been written, do you ever recall a coach or a manager doing this? Ever?
No. Not that I can remember.
Oh, there you go.
But you know what? I can't really compare many coaches to Rex Ryan.
That's true.
He's a one-of-a-kind, man. He really, for better or worse, I'm not even completely on board with his antics. I wasn't when he was the Jet coach. We questioned it. But it's on brand for him. So he's a unique cat. So it's kind of hard to compare him to other people because he's not other people. He's Rex Ryan.
Well, maybe the offseason, but every season is Bigelow T season.
We're back on Yes, by the way, which is good. They were having some syncing problems for the first hour, but now you heard the audio, but now you get to see how great we look on this Friday afternoon. So welcome to all of our viewers on Yes, and for all that have been listening on 880 ESPN. Now we get a chance to talk to our good friend, our colleague, Buster Olney, and he joins us now. Buster, it's Michael, Don, and Peter. How you doing?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
We're doing great, but we need you to tell us what's going on with Juan Soto. Where's he going to end up? We need you to tell us now.
There you go.
Now that is a high bar.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. But I'll try to give you the parameters of where it stands. As you know, he's been in these meetings with teams. And aside, I can't wait for the first time any of these meetings is cast as anything but good.
Right.
Right.
It's like surgery, right?
Yeah,
it's like
successful surgery.
Exactly. A successful. That's exactly right. And I still think he's got more conversations to have with the Philadelphia Phillies as part of this process. And then, from what I understand, sometime probably before Thanksgiving is when the numbers start to get thrown around. And to this point, it's really just been conversations. Juan getting to know people in each of these organizations. Him having a chance to learn something about them doing some presentation. But, I mean, let's face it, we've all thought in the end that there's a good chance he's going to take the highest number that's put in front of him, and we're going to find out, or at least, the Scott Boras will find out, beginning of next week, exactly where those numbers are going to fall. I think at the moment, and I remember talking to you guys back in August saying I thought that the Yankees, if they were going to get him, they were going to have Soto pick them over a higher offer from another team. I still think that's going to come from the Mets. The Blue Jays are obviously very serious coming in because they got a ton of payroll flexibility with Bo Bichette, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. set for free agency after next fall, a bunch of other contracts coming off the books. I think they're going to be the closest team that we see to a blank check outside of New York. Mm-hmm. The Phillies, I do think that I would take them seriously. I don't think the Dodgers are as serious as some other teams. And, why would they be? They've got so many great players anyway. But I think it's going to start heating up next week.
Now, we look at paying someone through the logic of, like, how rich is that team based on how much money they generate. But we know Steve Cohen is sitting on $20 billion. So it doesn't matter how much the Mets make. It's really how much he's willing to spend out of his own money to make this work. Are there any other owners? Does Rogers have that same appetite with Toronto? Does Philly ownership have that same appetite that Steve Cohen, we assume, has by going to his pile of money and going beyond what the Mets actually make?
So I think, in the fact that the Blue Jays, basically were willing to give Shohei Ohtani the deal that he got from the Dodgers, tells you they've got that money. And I mentioned, and they have, beyond 2025, almost a blank slate of payroll. Like, they have very few obligations, after next year. So they absolutely could be the team that, puts up a crazy number. John Middleton, as you guys know, the Phillies owner, has come out and said things along the lines that we heard from, the late, great Mike Ilitch and the late, great Peter Seidler, that he's not worried about the bottom line. He's trying to build a winner. He obviously has done deal making with Scott Boras before, with Bryce Harper. The fact that Soto knows Bryce, that gives him another, Superman to Batman situation like he has with the Yankees. So I do think they're going to be teams that maybe, could make an offer larger than what the Yankees have. And it really comes down, and I think Soto has done a great job, just as Judge did 2 years ago, in really hiding what he thinks. And maybe he doesn't even know what he really thinks until he gets down to it, and the numbers are actually right in front of him. What happened with Judge, as you guys remember, is that when he was coming down to it and the Padres offered more than the Yankees, Judge looked at it all and said, you know what, I really want to play with the Yankees. And that was what the Yankees had hoped all along. I don't know of anyone to this point who really knows what Juan Soto wants. Does he want to stay in a ballpark that's absolutely suited to him, playing alongside Judge? Does he want to be the man? Does he want to be the biggest, star in the team? And that's what he would have with Toronto. Does he want the biggest money? Maybe that's what he winds up getting with the Mets or the Phillies. We don't know exactly what Soto wants yet.
Do you believe the Viagra report? Because Carlos has been right about some stuff before. So he said the Mets have already floated $660 over 14 years. And frankly, I don't even know if that gets done. But do you believe there's any validity to that?
I believe everything you just said. And Carlos is very well connected. I would never say that his report wasn't right. He's gotten so many other numbers right. But I do think when we get to this time of year, somebody's offer could be another person's proposal, could be another person's thought.
Do you believe though, that in all of these meetings, Buster, that numbers were never discussed?
In these meetings that have gone on, I believe that.
Really?
I believe that in these particular meetings. Now, do I necessarily think that, there hasn't been an off-the-record conversation between Scott and an owner? Not off the record. A separate conversation between Scott and an owner where they talk about concepts and they talk about, proposals, that sort of thing. I would believe that that's going on, too, where there's some early indications. Because these are really successful people. Steve Cohen's an incredibly successful person. The idea that he's going to wait for a play to dictate the timing of it, I just goes against my sense of logic. But, I do know that teams, the way they're casting it when you have conversation with clubs is that Scott is indicating he's not ready for offers yet.
Now, the other thing that's been speculated is just where at the seat of the table Juan would be with decision-making and the like. Are there teams that you know of that might have a line of demarcation when it came to giving that kind of power to a player?
And that's hard to say. I mean, Francisco Lindor, since he signed with the Mets, it's pretty well known among the staff there that he's got a really good relationship, he and his wife do, with the Cohens. In a different way, it's a different relationship than I think Aaron Judge has with Hal Steinbrenner. How much influence does that have? I don't know. I don't know precisely. Peter Seidler, the late owner of the Padres, had very personal relationship with the players. I think if Peter Seidler were still alive, Soto would have already signed with the Padres because Seidler's vision was to build that franchise around Soto and Manny Machado. And, one thing that, I heard during this process is that, Seidler would have absolutely done everything he could to sign him, and he would have never traded him. For sure. I think that really varies, Don, and I don't mean to skirt your question, but I think it really varies from owner to owner. Which owner is willing to have a player, bypass the general manager. We know that happened with the Yankees with George Steinbrenner. As you guys remember, Billy Martin was jealous. And, Michael, you know this better than I do. Billy Martin at times was jealous of the relationship between Reggie and George. And those things would sort of shift and change, from year to year, even from day to day.
You know what is, I would push back a little bit on like the influence aspect, Buster, because what you said about Lindor and the Cohens is true. They're extraordinarily close. But when push comes to shove, you're just a player because Lindor, if I'm to believe the stuff that I've heard, absolutely adored Buck Showalter. And what did the Cohens do? They fired him. So, I mean, your influence only goes so far. The guy who owns the team and pays the bills is going to make the final decision. Even if it's Aaron Judge and Garrett Cole, they can make suggestions, but you really don't have power. Nobody's going to give that power to a player.
Correct. And on the other hand, one thing I would love to know the answer to, and I don't know, but, Lindor and Javi Baez, do the Mets make that trade for Javier Baez if not for Lindor's presence? Right. I don't know the answer to that, but that's one of those things that happen. I mean, my God, watch LeBron and the Lakers.
And usually it doesn't work well. Now,
you just don't know.
Now, I have always thought in my head, not from anybody that said anything to me, that the per year average annual value is going to fall between 46 and 50. Do you agree?
Yes. I do. I think, and Scott. I mean, Scott is about benchmarks. When Alex Rodriguez signed his contract, it was exact for $252 million with the Texas Rangers. It was exactly twice of what Kevin Garnett had gotten from the Timberwolves. And so Scott could say that his client got, twice as much as anybody else. I'm absolutely convinced, just because after watching Scott, work through the years, that the value somehow of this deal is going to be cast is anything over $700 million. And you can spread that out over 15 years or 14 years. There are a lot of ways to make that happen. You can work in deferred money, but I think two benchmarks are going to go down. One is the present day value. The record now is Ohtani's deal at $461. I think he's going to surpass that. And I think, through the deferred money and structure, that sort of thing, I think he's going to get past 701.
At or during the winter meetings is still your timeline, Buster?
I think we're going to find out. My guess is just before, and there'll be a press conference at the winter meetings. And that's purely a guess, because I know this. Scott has a lot of other guys who are going to be affected by Soto's situation, right? They're players who are going to become the focus of teams that don't sign Soto. They're going to be consolation prizes that Scott needs to dole out. And we saw what happened last winter when, Scott had a lot of clients sort of drag out. I don't think it's going to be that way this winter.
You literally, Buster, took my next question. Was last winter sort of a learning season for Scott?
Look, short answer, I'd say no. I think Scott's going to do his business the way he believes it should be done. He's going to give you his reasons for why he thinks last winter played out. I think he's had so many more successes than failures. I think last winter was, for some of those guys, a real failure. But I don't think Scott is going to deviate. But I just think the practical reality is, you guys remember the winter when Carlos Beltran was a free agent leaving the Astros, and everybody waited, From what I heard, Beltran in his heart really wanted to sign with the Yankees. He signs in early January with the Mets, and the Astros are left holding the bag, right? They don't have the player. And I think a lot of teams watch that, and they don't want to be in the same position. So I think Scott is going to understand that some of these potential landing spots for his many other clients are going to be affected by how long this drags out. And look, in a situation like Soto, you've got everything you want. You got the two biggest teams in baseball, in the biggest, in the media capital of the world, going for him, apparently, with very aggressively. And beyond that, do you really need more information? Do you need to drag it out to January? I think he needs to get it done so we can get teams more focused on Pete Alonso and Corbin Burns and some of his other guys.
And, the sidebar on this is it probably behooves Pete Alonso if Soto doesn't go to the Mets. Because I think if Soto doesn't go to the Mets, then Alonso
totally
is in play.
Yeah, and I'd say this. Like, I've seen speculation that, if the Yankees don't sign Soto, they'll turn to Alonso. I'm sorry, I'm not buying it.
Me neither.
I'm not buying that a team that, already has Giancarlo Stanton for a couple more years at DH. You have an Aaron Judge who at some point, as he begins to slow down, he's going to have to change position, use DH more. They're going to sign on for 6 years of Pete Alonso. I don't buy it. And Michael, you remember that in recent years, those years in which the Yankees were stacked with right-handed hitters. I don't think Brian Cashman's going to create that again.
If you look at the last time the Yankees lost a free agent, I don't even know if lost is the right word because I'm not sure that they were devastated when he left. That was Robbie Cano.
No.
And their plan B did not turn out well. The guys that got Ellsbury and McCann, it wasn't what they expected it to be. Do you have any inkling of what plan B would be this year if they don't get Soto?
So, and all I can go is on the history. I can't tell you what's being said in the room about, and because that they've got that planned out. Okay, where are our pivot points? I think you'd agree with me on this, that Brian Cashman's history is that he, in a pinch, he gravitates toward pitching. And I tell you what, there are some pretty good candidates for that. I think Max Fried is an excellent candidate. He's the closest thing that this generation has to Jimmy Key. A guy who would be very comfortable coming into New York. He's pitched in big games. That would be an interesting name for me. Corbin Burns, of course, former Cy Young Award winner. And I really believe this after watching the Yankees this year, and this is why I mentioned about Pete Alonso, and I just don't see them adding another sort of lumbering right-handed hitter. Willie Adames, to me, was an excellent fit, not only because he's a good player, but because of the athletic versatility. He's had an excellent season last year. He can move to third base if you wanted to. You can move him to second base. His agents have signaled to the industry he's willing to go, and he is known as a great clubhouse guy, like off the charts. And so that to me is potentially a natural pivot point, not only because you want a guy who can help to fill in at least some of the offense that Soto would leave behind, but also because the versatility and the athleticism, I think they're going to need that as they go forward.
Buster, we've debated this on the show many times. You've got the NBA and the NHL have their July 1st free agent frenzy, where it seems like everybody's gobbled up in a 12 to 24-hour period. A lot of attention on the sport. Baseball does it a different way, where it could be all winter. We're waiting for these names to get signed. Which way do you think is best for a sport promoting itself?
I think it's much better if you had a period where you get baseball fans excited, where that they would have the focus. Can you imagine if at the winter meetings this year we went there with the general expectation that during that time that all of these big names would find landing spots? I mean, baseball would dominate the sports landscape for 4 days. But here's the thing. Major League Baseball and the Player Association aren't even close to being on the same page in coming up with a solution for that, and they just don't collaborate. So it's like wishing for world peace.
Yeah, and that's not going too well. So is there a part of you that thinks that if Cashman had his druthers, he would pass on Soto and get creative with the money that they would have spent on one person?
100%. And that is because I think Brian, especially with a lot of years in the books, I just don't think he's afraid of players saying no. Because they have, certainly there are a lot of general managers who would feel good that they could identify possible solutions if suddenly $600 to $700 million was freed up in obligation. And as you know, his history, time and time and time again, he's advised the team to walk away. When Alex Rodriguez opted out in 2007, he was the person in the front office saying, let him go. Don't chase him. When CC Sabathia's agent, Brian Peters, was threatening to opt out of his deal after 3 years and he had the torn shoulder capsule, Brian was like, you know what? Let him go. Don't worry about giving him an extension. Robinson Cano. I don't know exactly, what the number Brian was advising when Judge was a free agent, but I really believe that Brian was probably absolutely ready to walk away from that thing, and it was Hal Steinbrenner who made that deal happen. I think Brian's been around long enough, and he understands they're the Yankees, and even if they don't retain Soto, guess what? Yankee fans are going to stay with the team.
Good stuff, Buster. If we don't talk to you, and I don't think we will next week unless something breaks, have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too, guys. Always fun.
All right, there he is. Buster. The champ. We call him the champ, Buster Only.
He just, and I'm not saying this because he's obviously not fat. I'm not suggesting that. He looks and feels like somebody that really enjoys a good Thanksgiving.
You think so?
Yeah, I just have a feeling that it's a big deal. I would be shocked if he's not at a table with at least 30 other people.
Well, he's also a farm boy, and that's a
maybe
big
that's
Thanksgiving
why.
thing. Yeah.
Like I just have this little house on the prairie feel about Buster's Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I think that Buster actually, all the stuff that's made, it's eggs that have been laid in his backyard, and the milk, he's milking the cows. He gets up at 4 in the morning every day for no reason.
It's a locally sourced Thanksgiving.
Yeah, farm to table.
That's what makes him the champ.
He's the champ. You couldn't be more right, Peter. He is.
That's how he's the champ.
Yeah.
It's why he's the champ.
Beautiful.
I honestly love that, man.
Now, on a happy note, the New York Post is reporting that Dave Sims is close to agreeing to a deal to replace John Sterling as the radio voice of the Yankees. Now, I love Dave. We've been friends a long time. I know this is something that he truly, truly wanted. I don't know if it's true or not. I'm just going off what the New York Post is saying. And I think he's going to be absolutely elated. He's from the area, essentially, and he's wanted to come back to New York for a long time. He's become very popular in Seattle, but he still has a home in New York during the winter. So this is perfect for him, and he'll slide into the radio booth, and he's 71 years old, so he could do this for a while, and I'm happy for Dave. I really am.
I'm a big fan of Dave Sims. He was always very, very nice to me when I would see him around. I'd see him at Jet games when he was calling them for Westwood One. I'd see him at the Fan a few times. Always a great guy. Good for him. I'm happy for him. But I'm really upset for the Justin Shackles, the Emmanuel Barberis, and
Ricky Ricardo,
and I know Brendan Burke did a few games. They all killed it, Michael. They all killed it. And I think they all did it believing that they had a shot at this gig. So I feel bad for them. Now, I don't know what they were promised, if they were promised anything. Maybe they knew that this was going to happen. But, Michael, they all killed it. Honestly, they all did a terrific job, and it would have been a very difficult decision on who to go with. And I know some of those people personally, so I don't want to tell you who my favorite was. Mm-hmm. But I think they all nailed it. They all are deserving of the gig, so that's who I feel bad for. And I know they've got futures, but it might not be with the New York Yankees. So Good for Dave. He was in Seattle. He killed it there, and he's done football. And he's a really tremendous broadcaster, so good for him. But I do feel bad for those guys. Well, they all deserve the shot, and they all think they would have killed if they got it.
Especially, the young guys, Justin and Emmanuel, both from Fordham, and I'm close with both of them. The first time you ever dated anybody, you dated Sidney Sweeney. You might not ever date Sidney Sweeney again after this, because the Yankees, that's the crown jewel of jobs,
right?
And so, it's going to hurt.
Now, if they were told, listen, you're just keeping the space, we're going to find somebody else.
They weren't promised. The assumption was if they did a good job, which they did, that they'd have a chance and they would be considered.
No, but if again, they might have known that they might have been considered, but there was also somebody else out there that was going to get the gig. Because I had heard Sims rumors for a while now, Michael, so they probably did as well. Where I would feel bad is if all four of those guys believed that they were going to get a legitimate shot and one of the four was going to get the gig, then I'd be really heartbroken for them, because then somebody kind of came in and swooped in. Not that that would have been Dave's fault, but I really believe that they would have been, any one of those four would have been deserving.
Now, I think this is going to be an unbelievable test case. Again, so I'm a friend of Dave's. If you listen to Dave's calls for the Mariners, he calls them as a homer. And I'm not saying that in a pejorative way or a derogatory way. He's a homer broadcaster. He'll say we and stuff like that. He's rooting on the air. Will the Yankees and FAN tell him that can't fly in New York? Or will that be a test case? Because it's always been assumed, Gary and I, we don't root on the air. Sam Rosen doesn't root on the air. No. Mike Breen doesn't root on the air. Will it change? Will New York accept that? Because I've always been told, you guys don't root on the air because you're afraid of the radio and TV columnists ripping you. Well, we're not afraid, but they definitely would rip us. Where this is definitely a different level of viewership and listenership. Will Dave change his style and do a down the middle where, we know John wanted the Yankees to win. He never said we, never rooted on the air, and ripped them. On the playoffs, he said they ran the bases like drunken sailors. Mm-hmm. So, will it change? Will all of a sudden the New York market change where you can actually broadcast a game and say we and be upset when a team doesn't do well?
Well, I will say this. Most of the guys that broadcast like homers are told to broadcast like homers. Mm-hmm. He did games on football for Westwood One. So he can do it down the middle.
Oh, he can do anything. He's very talented.
I don't know this for a fact, but I'm sure if he was over the top, Michael, it was probably because he was told by the Mariners, we want you to root hard for our team. And he probably did what he was told as the broadcaster. And if he comes to the Yankees, he will do what they want him to do. I don't think it's his style, Michael. I think that's probably what Seattle wanted. Why not? There's no other competition there. It's the Seattle Mariners. There's no other team.
A lot of teams
in
are
New
like
York. Listen, one of them. I don't know what they're told, but most of the time, I think if you're really over the top, it's because that market wants you to be. Where does it usually happen, Michael? It usually happens in smaller markets.
But it does happen in Chicago.
Yeah, but it's always happened in Chicago,
right?
But Dave Mishkin is one of my favorite people in the broadcast business, and he screams like a maniac when the Lightning score, and then gives you just a regular call for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Is that his style, or is that what the Lightning want? It makes sense for the Lightning to want that. It's Tampa, right? It's a non-traditional hockey market. That's him. That's Mishkin. I think Dave will call it the way the Yankees want it to be called.
But I wonder, do the Yankees want it to be? The Yankees have never told me not to be a homer, and they've never told me to be a homer. That's my style, is because I came from the newspaper industry, that I was going to call it down the middle. Obviously, you're more excited when the Yankees do well. We're not lying. It's better for business when the Yankees win. And Gary Gary wants the Mets to win as much as anybody, but he doesn't it, and he doesn't root.
No.
And he'll rip them when they're not doing well. He's as critical as anybody,
Right.
but we're not homers.
But that's where I'd fight back. I don't think it's Dave's style, because how do we know Dave? I know him from Westwood One. I know him from doing a show on The Fan. I know him from, I think he did some stuff at MSG back in the day.
Oh, a lot, yeah.
I never saw him as a homer until he went to Seattle.
Right.
So I'm going to go with the evidence presented to me that that's the way the Mariners wanted it called. So I think he'll do it any way they want him to do it.
It's going to be fascinating because he's such a great broadcaster. Again, he'll do it whichever way he has to do it. But if that's in his soul that's what he does as a team, and because he'd never been a team announcer except for before Seattle.
Right, yeah.
He did Westwood One. That's a game a week, different team. There's no connection. But maybe Yankee fans will like it. Maybe it'll change the paradigm in New York. Who knows?
Peter won't know this, but do you remember the name of his show on The Fan? He did with
Coleman and the Soul Man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did it with Ed Coleman. Coleman and the Soul Man. Your thoughts, Peter?
I've never heard that name before. Who was the Soul Man?
Dave. And Ed Coleman
Dave was
yeah.
So you get
He
it?
was the Soul Man.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's
Soul
not,
Man. Soul Man.
Not sure there would be the name today.
I see.
No.
But in 92?
No, we'll go
It
back.
worked.
No, the pendulum's turning. It would be the name today. By the way, this note from Anthony Pusick. So the Yankees are getting $15 million from the Rays to essentially rent Steinbrenner Field. The Rays will pay the Yankees $4.5 million more next year than their highest paid players, Brandon Lau and Jeffrey Springs. They're paying more for the stadium than a player.
That's not surprising.
Start off this big old ENF by saying good evening to Michael.
Meat police, Peter. You're dealing with meat police.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. And I'd like to say good evening to Don.
I'm going to quote a great woman.
Is it great or great? See, that's where I have to improve in the new year. Well, why correct them there? That's just terrible.
But that's not correcting. So you thought that's how I pronounce it? It was a mess. It was a mistake. That's not a correct. What are you going to correct me? No, it's really girl, Don.
No, it was great that I had a problem with it.
Whatever. I don't even
great.
remember what it was. Right. So I think I know how to pronounce great.
By the way, the Yankees, according to John Heyman, have
Don't
upped
care.
their offer on Juan Soto. So they upped their original offer.
Uh-oh. You know what that means?
What does that mean?
The first offer wasn't enough. What are they doing?
Well,
Got to come correct.
They auto-corrected.
I love John. You know that.
Well, I know you have for years.
But the way I take that is that's what Scott Boras said.
Well, then it's true.
No, I never doubted it for a second. That's why you got to be a little concerned because Scott's in the ear of a lot of these great writers. How do I know you're a great writer? Because Scott Boras has your ear. And John's great. Sorry, Peter.
Anthony, where's all this new Rogers audio from?
Today, from Florham Park.
Just from Florham Park?
No, they got him at Willowbrook.
At the mall?
Yeah.
Like a Santa thing.
No, I just think he was shopping in the mall and somebody got to him.
By the way, I'm done calling him Brick. Let's hear from Jeff Olbridge.
Or Joff.
Is there?
Are you going to call him Old Bridge?
Yeah, let's hear from Jeff Oldbridge. Is there a scenario where you'd shut down Rogers?
As long as he's healthy, my plan is to play him. And I know talking to him, that's the way he wants to do it too. Like, he's a very prideful person. He wants to finish this thing off right. He wants to celebrate this team that we have and have a good taste in our mouths as we leave the season.
Celebrate.
I don't understand. Where are we at that this is the way we're discussing it even? Do you know what I mean? Like, isn't that a weird way of even discussing it?
What do you mean? Tell me.
He wants to finish this thing off. We as long as he's healthy. I mean, it's kind of like we skip past the phase where it's like, well, of course he's playing. He's the quarterback of the football team. What else would it be?
But there would be a time that you could realistically cut bait. What am I putting my health on the line for a team that has no chance? So, I mean, yeah, I think he's going to be asked that all the time if they keep losing.
You mean if Rodgers wants to do that? But I'm surprised. I don't know. Why would Ulbrich consider anything else? Who are they going to go to? I mean, they can, but it's just all right. I hear what you're saying.
Go to Tyrod Taylor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably better. There's more. There's more to hear,
Let's
though.
hear.
Aaron Rodgers was asked about his uncertain future.
That's life in general, I think. Football life is interesting because there's no guarantees, even with injuries, obviously, with contract situations, with age, with coaching changes, new scheme, possibly a new system. There's a lot of unknowns, so that stuff's out of my control. I'm just going to enjoy these times here and then let the future take care of itself.
Beautiful.
Oh, that is nice.
By the way, guys, ENN is brought to you by Security Dodge.
Is this a late sponsor?
Yeah.
Listen, they're
Check
selling,
just
Michael.
cleared. Yeah.
The check just cleared
you think
right
that
now.
They were waiting for the check to clear, or were they
and they said, all
selling
right, Peter, now do it.
Well, Aaron Rodgers was asked about.
Wait, you didn't say it was brought to. I interrupted you.
No, I said Security Dodge.
Okay.
Wasn't a lot to it.
Aaron Rodgers was asked about possibility of changing his stance. Why has he changed his stance on playing next year?
Well, I think so, and I'm not sure, or not too far off. I think if you look at what transpired in those 2 weeks, Joe got axed. Joe brought me in here. There's uncertainty with, everybody on the staff. So I'm not naive to what the situation is. And if a new GM comes in and they don't retain Brick, I have to fit in those plans. So that's kind of the first part. Because like I said on Pat's show, this is my first option. Yeah, I'd love to play here if I end up deciding to play. But there's got to be the want for them to want to bring me back and for me to want to play. But I think so was the truth. And I'm not 100% sure is also the truth today.
Don, I think you were right. I think he is at the Willowbrook Mall. A lot of kids in the background.
Yeah, people shopping.
Yeah.
I don't think it was an appearance either. I just think he wanted to shop.
Right. I think he was at Newberry Comics. Had a good time there. Picked up some gifts for friends.
Listen, I haven't been to the Willowbrook Mall since we did the B-Dubs appearance for the holiday party. That was pre-pandemic. I think there's still a Spencer's. He looks like a Spencer's guy.
Yeah.
He would get the throwback Metallica T-shirt.
The diamond encrusted lava lamp.
Yeah. Well, he's shopping. That's what Brick's going to get for Christmas.
That's the gift for Brick.
Yes.
He keeps
from
bringing up
Willow Brick.
In case Brick is back. I say there's a 0% chance Brick is the coach.
But I understand him not talking like it's done because he's probably gotten friendly with him and doesn't want the blood on his hands. See, he didn't want him back. But nobody with a brain thinks he's coming back. But I can understand him playing the game.
Oh.
That's Brick to you and me, Don.
Brick killed a man.
In defense of Aaron, what else are you going to call him? All is
Coach.
difficult. But come on.
You know he can't do
Why? It's his coach. What? Find me another player that calls him Brick.
You have to call him Brick.
Is he coaching? He almost punched Saleh for coaching. You think Brick's coaching him?
I mean, baseball players, they call their manager Skip.
It's like me calling the doctor Doc, which I do.
I do too.
By the way, I call the vet Doc too.
Well, why wouldn't you?
Every Doc I call Doc. Guys, it's time for your week.
Could you call him that in Michael J. Fox's voice?
Hey, Doc.
You haven't done that in a while. It's so good.
Thank you. I think for Thanksgiving we needed to hear that.
It's time for your special Thanksgiving Week 13 NFL announcer lineup.
Come on, let's get on board with this, Don. Come on.
Listen, I've been on board from jump.
Let's do it.
On a Thanksgiving, it feels special. We'll start out on Turkey Day, and you know where you have to start the day, in the city of auto. That's right, Motown, the Big D, the birthplace of Eminem, the Detroit Lions. I'll tell you guys right now, 3-point play. What else are you doing?
All right, good for you.
That is a big number, though.
I don't care. Double it.
All right, plus 20, 3 points.
The Detroit Lions 9.5-point favorites as it sits right now against the Chicago.
What is a stit?
What'd I say?
Who has it stits right now? I've never heard that. Is that gambling jargon?
That might be gambling jargon.
Can I get my Bears drop, guys? Well, me talking about the Bears is important. It's the Chicago Bears against the Detroit Lions. It's CBS 12:30. You know what that means?
It's Jim Nantz.
That's right.
Hello, Fred.
He'll be joined by Tony Romo.
Blow the whistle.
and Tracy Wolfson.
Oh, a little feistiness.
Since 1983, double-digit favorites are 14-2 against the spread on Thanksgiving. Of course, we have that because it was 10. I guess Bears have thrown some money down on the Bears. The Lions are 8-4 against the spread in their last 12 Thanksgiving games, 2-1 under Dan Campbell. Do you guys have my Bears drop?
There must be tryptophan.
Wow.
It's on the Peter page. It's right there.
It's the Peter page.
It's the Jim McMahon drop. Come on, guys.
Man.
Hopeless.
They just
personnel.
The Bears got Jim
Well,
McMahon.
now you don't. That
Thank
would have been
you.
better if they didn't
terrible.
do it.
Yeah.
All right, it's a lot going on drop-wise during this segment. It's 4:30. Let's go. They're calling it the Toilet Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys hosting the New York Giants. Oh, boy. 4:30 on Fox. The unlucky crew is Kevin Burkhardt.
Keith, these are definitely not pumpkins.
Tom Brady.
If I wanted to have fun, I was going to go to Disneyland with my kids.
Aaron Andrews.
All right, old man, I can joke with you about that.
And Tomas Rinaldi.
How spectacular and great is this?
The night game could be good. Why? Because the Miami Dolphins have won 3 straight, and they'll take their show on the road to take on the Packers. 8:20 on NBC, which means it's a Mike Tirico vehicle.
They still seem to resonate.
There are 3 teams.
That hurts every time you play it.
He'll be joined by Chris Collinsworth.
I love Wicked. I saw the play. I'm sophisticated.
And Melissa Stark.
The Eagles could even run the tush push with me at quarterback.
We head on to Black Friday. I mean, it's so weird, the schedule of the NFL these days. That's right, 3 p.m. Black Friday for the second year now. The Raiders against the Chiefs. This time, it's Al Michaels on the call.
A lot of possum out there in Manhattan tonight, running around with all the rats that Mayor Adams is trying to get rid of.
He'll be joined by Kirk Herbstreit.
You know, it was just
Looked like Notre Dame was just maybe going to...
It was just Al's 80th birthday last Monday.
That's right.
Yeah.
He probably had a plain piece of meat with a potato next
Which
to it.
is you're going to have for Thanksgiving.
Kaylee Harding on the sideline. Well, let's head to Sunday, all right? It is 1 o'clock this coming Sunday. I will be dreary-eyed returning on the red eye from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. The Los Angeles Chargers at the Atlanta Falcons at 1 o'clock. Kevin Harlan on the call. Trent Green.
Holy smokes.
And Melanie Collins.
This rivalry never disappoints. When you... Derek, take me through that run.
Let's stay on CBS, but let's go to Cincinnati for a big AFC North clash. The Steelers against the Bengals. Must win for the Bengals, of course. Ian Eagle on the call.
What is happening here?
He'll be joined by Charles Davis.
Joey Porter's getting away with being a little bit handsy early in this game.
And Evan Washburn.
The lobby is bustling. There is an energy here.
Steelers are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6. Bengals 1-4 against the spread at home this season. The Cardinals and the Vikings 1 o'clock on Fox. Joe Davis on the call. Greg Oilison.
I'm aggressive by nature.
And Pam Oliver.
I'm not dead yet.
Okay. Wow. I'll tell you what, guys. If it was 2004, you would have a full-on football boner for this game.
What?
But
that nobody heard that. That did not make the air. Anthony, did that make the air?
Of course not.
Don, you ruined
it. That.
Why not?
It's disgusting.
You can't say that.
I was saving jobs, man.
All right,
no, I'm with you. You should be able to say it.
Not a soul.
Yes heard it.
No, Yes has a dump button now, too.
Yeah.
Yes, has different rules.
They didn't dump that. Greek's not a coward. No offense.
I don't know why. I don't know why that is, Michael. Because I'm not gonna say it and get in trouble. But you know,
I could have a segment named after it on my morning show and sing it.
No,
for
I
an hour.
know,
Nothing
but
would
that's
happen.
your morning show. This is the mothership. And listen, baseball, right, Michael? Merkel's. You were allowed to say that,
right?
But for whatever reason, you can't say what Peter said. That's awful.
All right, I'm going to try it again. Try it again. The Indianapolis Colts and New England Patriots. If it was 2004, you would be visibly excited for this game. How's that, Don?
Back.
Thank you. There you go. But in this case, you're incapable of anything because no feelings to have.
Viagra Bowl.
It's in 2024. It's 1 p.m. on CBS. Spiro Didi's on the call.
That is Antetokounmpo.
He'll be joined by Adam Archuleta.
Adam Golden Archuleta.
And Aditi Kinkwabala.
Joe Flacco, do you ever age?
Peter, I have a correction on your announcer lineup.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the NBC vehicle is not Collinsworth. He has it off. It's Jason Garrett. Let's see if they can get probably a straw.
Wow.
Jason Garrett.
And there's nobody.
You got a straw?
It's from
There
Miami,
you go.
Green Bay, yeah.
It's so deserving of the straw. I don't get that high or never will.
Oh, Jason Garrett. Hit him with the straw again.
Jason Garrett's basically a rock, and they put him on TV because he's a ginger.
How'd they get that so fast?
They found one. They found one. You didn't think they would, but they searched and they found one.
I remember when I said that. I'm proud of it.
Big game here. The Jets. It's the Geno Bowl. The Jets hosting the Seahawks. 1 o'clock on Fox. Adam Amin.
Now stands erect.
Mark Sanchez. And Christina Pink.
Oh, yeah, the swagger is back.
A lot of 1 p.m.s this Sunday, including this one. The Titans at my Commanders. Michael, I know how you feel about the words must win, but I think if the Commanders are still having a season, it's a must win, no?
Can I tell you what, Peter? That might be one of my picks.
I wonder which way you're going.
Your way.
Really? Yeah. Okay, we'll discuss it coming up in a bit. I won't be touching it. Andrew Catalan. Adam Catalan on the Andrew. Damn it. Tiki Barber.
My go-to karaoke song is Sunday Morning by Maroon 5.
Jason McCourty.
Poor Giants fans that are just at home watching as Saquon Barkley is just doing what he does.
A.J. Ross.
Texans running back Joe Mixon dapping it up.
I don't know. I like that drop. I don't know why.
I want to say this. I've wanted to say it whenever we play the Tiki one. How much you want to bet the person that goes, oh, from the song? Never heard the song.
By the way, I'm very into the response on the Tiki. It's the most like pretending to care. Play the Tiki one more time.
My go-to karaoke song is Sunday Morning by Maroon 5.
Oh.
Guaranteed never heard the song.
1 o'clock, Houston, Texas. Oh, wait, hold on. Is it 9:30? Because it's Houston at Jacksonville.
That's 9:30 Thursday.
Michael, have they ever had a 9:30 a.m. Thursday?
If the NFL could sell it, they will.
Oh, my God. The announcers for this train wreck will be Kevin Kugler.
And it's caught! It's a touchdown!
Daryl Johnston. And Laura Oakman.
I love the love.
4:05, finally, the Rams and the Saints on Fox. Kenny Albert.
In Raleigh, North Carolina.
Wait, did he say Wally?
In Raleigh, North Carolina.
That's like in all the times I've heard Kenny, I'm still counting on one hand mistakes he made.
Jonathan Vilma. And Megan O'Leary on the sideline.
You know, at this point in your career, to have a performance like this, I can't even take you serious. I love it.
Also at 4:05 in Carolina. Kind of smells like Thursday. Tampa Bay at Carolina. Chris Myers.
Hi, I'm Chris Myers.
He'll be joined by Mark Stink Schlereth.
Lick my fingers and touch it.
And Jen Hale.
A down to the wire thriller.
Another Hello Friends vehicle for the weekend, 4:25 on Sunday. This is a good one, guys. The very hot Philadelphia Eagles at the Ravines of Baltimore. Hello Friends, Jim Nance.
Tony.
Joined by Tony Romo.
Nance needs a bathroom break.
And Tracy Wolfson.
Are you kidding me?
Wait a second. They've got them doing 2 games in 4 days?
Yeah, buddy.
That's why they were off last week.
Nah.
Oh, so they stored up, firepower?
That's how it works, right?
That's how it works. The Eagles are 5-1 against the spread on the road this season. Lamar Jackson 18-4-2 against the spread in his career when the line's between +3 and -3. Wow, that's a fascinating stat. Sunday Night Football, the 49ers and the Bills. You thought on paper this would have been a great game. Now, not so sure. Mike Tirico on the call, we think.
It's a kick six.
He'll be joined by Chris Collinsworth.
Amongst huge people, he was huger.
And Melissa Stark on the sideline.
Bro, you guys suck.
The 49ers are 0-3 against the spread in their last 3. The Bills are 5-1 against the spread in their last 6, with 5 of those 6 games going over on the total. By the way, Monday Night Football on ESPN, the Browns and the Broncos. Oh, taking us back to the drive. ESPN 8:15. Joe Buck on the call.
See ya.
Troy Aikman.
Come on, Daddy.
And Lisa Salters.
Welcome to the playoffs.
That is your NFL announcer lineup for Thanksgiving week 13. Brought to you by ENN, that is, of course, Security Dodge. Shop 24/7 at securitydodge.com during their Black Friday sales event.
You know what you've been doing, and it's a little disappointing, Peter, is you're leaving out Laura Rutledge on the Monday Night Football announcer lineup.
Yeah, why?
What do you do that?
Well, she's not.
She's working one sideline, and Lisa's working the other.
Oh, really?
The last couple of games, that's been the case.
Yeah, why?
Miss Routledge. I apologize to Miss Routledge. I didn't know that. I thought of her as a host. I didn't know she
does everything.
Sidelines.
She does it well, too.
You know who else does things well? Amazon. All right? And I got to talk to you about what Amazon Pickup could do for you.
Special guest Jelly Roll coming to Citi Field on Wednesday, June 4th, 2025. ESPN New York has your chance to score tickets on the ESPN New York app. Just scroll down to contest and submit your entry. Brought to you by Live Nation. Tickets go on sale Tuesday, November 26th at noon at Ticketmaster.com. So, Don, we have a clip of what the caller talking about and some of the people on social media as well. Let's listen to what they said about you on the morning show.
It's so upsetting to hear because you did this last year. You won the games. You did exactly what you wanted. You turned around the next season, and you're the exact same crap that you were last year. And secondarily, you're right. This is not the quarterback draft. But you just said, in your mind, they're going to take a quarterback. So in my mind, and I believe in your mind, and I wish I could get it through to Don's mind, wouldn't you rather have the choice of everyone out there rather than say, oh, I pick 5th. So in a year where there's maybe not a great quarterback, I don't even have my pick of the litter for any quarterback I want.
I wouldn't even have to use this year's draft. I mean, you're 2-8. So for all the things that he just said, they did what you wanted. They won games. So didn't Brian Daboll, specifically Brian Daboll, prove to you that he's a good coach? That's what you wanted. He gave you what you wanted. And what did that get you?
Nothing.
Did it carry over to this season?
No, not for a second.
I have a little bit of a hot take.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know if that's Dave. I think it's an AI Dave. It didn't sound
really?
like Dave.
Really?
It
That's
like
interesting.
Maybe he's had like dental, work or something like that. It doesn't sound like himself.
But that's fine.
Wait. I'm told there's more though.
Okay, that's fine. So far, it's what we disagreed about.
Yeah.
Don is getting crushed on the emails, by the way.
He probably figured that.
John L. says, Don is such an absolute clown. He doesn't even realize how stupid he sounds. Yeah, it's a real crapshoot. The Giants were linked to Daniels in May. Man, would hate to have either of them right now. Let's win meaningless games that's translating so beautifully from year to year. Moron. Don's a moron. That's John L. Chris Jacobs, Don might be the dumbest person I've ever heard. I don't think he's the dumbest person ever.
No, he's not dumb at all.
No, you guys have fed this.
I didn't think. Don't even start.
I blame you guys.
I can't even listen to that show because the 3 clowns who talk out of their butt. And don't get me started on Peter. How does he have that job?
What are you doing right now?
He knows what he's doing.
Stop it.
He knows exactly what he's doing.
No, seriously, we've done nothing but support this show. We've done nothing but support.
Shot for no reason.
Seriously. What did I do? No. Seriously, man. We've done everything to support that morning show. And you just read the... No, that's not right, man. Like, seriously. I could take being called all names by callers if they want to call, but to be gleefully thrown under the bus by somebody who's supposed to be a colleague, we talk up the show, and just for your own betterment, to just make you feel good that you're right about your opinion, which is certainly debatable, you're going to allow just to name call the afternoon show that basically you wouldn't exist if it wasn't for us.
Yeah, we gave you
we propped this station up for a long time, and let's call it like it is, all right? So that it opened doors for there to be other shows, so there could be really talented people that were given the opportunity because we were able to show Bristol and New York that it could work.
that there could be another sports station. So we stuck our neck out for these guys, and that's what we get in return, just so that you can make you feel like you're proven right to your audience, to your people, by throwing us under the bus and getting personal. And if you're reading the email, then obviously you must be on board with at least that message being sent out. That's not right, and that's not being a team player. That's just garbage, man. So listen, we could agree to disagree on the tanking thing, and quite frankly, I'm getting bored with the conversation. But if that's where you need to go to feel like you won the conversation, throwing good people under the bus like Michael, this station wouldn't exist without Michael. He's bowing to him like he's some sort of a god.
Wait,
instead of treating him like that.
Did they
Well, they'll use those 3 clowns in the afternoon. Why would you read that? So I wouldn't read that. I wouldn't.
Anthony was telling me it wasn't them. They were reading emails. So when I didn't listen to the clip until it was on the air. But you choose what emails you read.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's like you're co-signing it.
So to make his point, because he wants to win the argument
I'm sorry that Peter had to take a straight.
Yeah, that was it. I didn't do anything.
No, I'm.
No, you know what, Don? I'm impressed. I'm impressed with this version of Don. Because Michael, you could tell he's angry.
Yes.
But he doesn't just turn into Don the rant man, boo his ass for no reason. He's staying calm, he's collected, he's delivering a message with warmth, empathy, and respect.
Because I don't want
respect
some rant to then become the thing. As if it could be accused of being performative. It's hurtful. But to try to win your point, which again, you could win it with your audience, and then maybe I can get people to agree with me. I don't look at if I won or lost an argument based on how many people agree with me. But besides, it's an opinion. I'm going to root for the Giants. So if you think I'm a moron, good for you. But to read those emails, like, oh, look at, I'm so right. Look at all the people that think Don's a moron. Gleefully read them on the air.
That's not right.
And then turn around and think that you show some respect to us. Listen, you don't have to listen to this show. You don't have to like the show. But we're all supposed to be a family here. We're all supposed to be on the same team. We're supposed to help each other. Afternoon and mornings are connected together. The idea is to have the same audience. People going into work, now going home to work. Now, we can have our fun and we can be playful like DiPietro is with Peter and all that back and forth. But to gleefully read emails of people on this show being called morons and stupid and those clowns in the afternoon as if he's reading from a Mushnick article, well, you know what? Go scratch. I don't need you. I never did. We'll continue to move forward, but you're gonna move forward without me. I'm not gonna be some prop.
I do absolve Rick though.
No. You know what?
Listen, I'm not as mad at him because I think he kind of sensed how uncomfortable it was. But he's a good teammate, so I'm sure he's going to show support to Dave. We're good. We're going to move on. We've got a really bright future. There's a lot of things that are going on that we're all going to be a part of. But we don't have to like each other to do it. Because I sure don't like him.
You see what you just... Wow, Michael. I didn't know.
I'm most worried about you as collateral damage.
Listen, I've been hearing from people like that. I'm fine. I've been hearing stuff like that for a long time. By the way, I got some I got some answers about Jameis Winston when you want them.
Okay. Well, first we have the champ coming up next.
We got to talk to Buster.
Yeah, Buster Only will join us, and we'll get the latest on the Juan Soto. By the way, congratulations to Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. They were both unanimous MVP winners.
Who would have guessed
Ohtani is third, and Judge his second MVP, although it should be his third. He should have beaten Altuve that year. But good stuff. Good stuff. But we'll hear from Buster Only, get the latest on the Juan Soto situation. But first, Don is taking a breath. He's recalibrated. He has something to tell you about a fun toy truck.
Well, that toy truck is back.
It's Wednesday. It's 4 o'clock. That means we talk to the legendary Mike Lupica, and he joins us now. You can read him in the news on MLB.com and all of his great books. Mike, it's Michael, Don, and Peter. How are you today?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you today?
We're great. You know, we were talking about this before the break, so we'll start off with this. Do you cry?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
Oh yeah. Every Wednesday about 4:30, I get off the phone.
It's almost like you wrote that. Wow.
No, I tried it out on Anthony, and he laughed. So I said, "Well, why not?"
Well, I do.
No, yeah.
Now I have a tougher question though. You have waxed poetically about your late dad, who was in World War II. Did you ever see him cry?
Oh my God, my dad. I mentioned this in my column the other day. I sent it out on X. 80 years ago, Michael and Peter and Don. 80 years ago, last week, my 20-year-old father flew his first mission over Europe as a bombardier in a B-24. He was 20 years old. He was 20 years old. And as I said in my newspaper column the other day, you want to know what America's supposed to be? That, okay? But when he came home, oh my God, my dad cried at Hallmark commercials. Oh yeah, my Ben Lupica was
and he was
never
a tough
afraid.
dude.
He 31 missions over Europe at the ages of 20 and 21. I couldn't even find my way to class when I was 20 years old. And yeah, but he was my dad. We used to make fun of him. I'd look over during a commercial. I said, "Dad, it's just a commercial."
Well, I want to thank you. I just won $1 from Michael because Michael said
I didn't think you would admit that you cried.
Oh, I got 4 kids and 2 grandkids. I cry at movies. Oh yeah, but not like I cry after the show every week. That is like, what am I thinking? Oh God, no. What?
Did you cry the way the Jets played against Arizona on Sunday?
You know, it's funny. I watched that game, and I like pro football. I like to watch it on Sundays and Mondays and whenever. And there have been very few teams that I have seen this season get rolled the way the Jets got rolled in the desert on Sunday. I mean, and they could have scored as many points as they wanted to in that game. And this is the team. Remember that people convinced themselves it was Super Bowl or bust because they had Gramps playing quarterback, okay? And now they can't run the ball. They can't stop the run. They can't tackle anybody. They can't score touchdowns. And this is the state of the New York Jets. I wrote a column about it the other day. We are once again the capital of bad football in New York and New Jersey. Because the only thing you can say about the Jets is the Giants are even worse than they are. And, guys, I looked it up the other day. When those Giant fans flew that plane over the Meadowlands, 15 years of lousy football, we've had enough. The Giants were in the process of having their 7th losing season in 8 years. These Giants are on the verge of having their 7th losing season in 8 years, and the other team in town hasn't made the playoffs in 100 years.
And the thing is we look back at that 2002 season, 9-7-1, win a playoff game. Dable is coach of the year. As what you hang on to, like a thread, that they've got the right people in place. If this goes sideways and they win 3 games this year, Mike, what does John Mara do? What's the right thing to do? Let them get their quarterback and start fresh, or do you blow the whole thing up?
Don, here's what I know, that they honestly believe over there that they are a quarterback away. And I'm just not seeing that.
They're wrong.
I saw what Shane said the other day about the talent on both sides of the ball and blah, 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 and blah, 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 because that's what it was. It was a lot of blah, 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 and he was defending his turf, okay? But I am not seeing a team that is set up to go back to winning if they find the right quarterback. And by the way, what have they done to make you think that they can find the right quarterback, having now about to have burned 6 years on Daniel Jones? And guess what? The other team in town, they don't have any idea who their quarterback's going to be next year. That's the state of New York football right now.
Would you, if you were running the Giants, though, Mike, and you had an opportunity to hire Bill Belichick, would you go that route, or are they too far down to hire a 72-year-old?
Oh, I think Bill Belichick is absolutely going to be in play for them. And guess what, guys? We've talked about this before. I'm not I've done this too long to be a firing guy. I used to do that when I was younger. I don't want to fire anybody. I like Brian Daboll. I like him as a person. I do. And I've known him since he got here, and I've rooted for him to turn this thing around. But, the fact is Brian hasn't covered himself with glory this year either. And that flea flicker the other day, I know that it's easy to say afterwards, it was 3rd and 2. What are they doing? Where are they going? And they're going where the team is going right now, which is nowhere. I don't know how they can rehabilitate themselves in any meaningful way over the rest of the season.
And Peter, I'll let you go in a second, but what you just said about the flea flicker. Everybody points to the flea flicker on why this is a Jones problem, because any other quarterback would have completed the pass. It was the right play call. If they don't know by now he can't do it, then it's the wrong play call. Like, it doesn't matter that it would work with another quarterback. That's your quarterback. And if he can't execute it, you're supposed to know that.
He is 6 years into this, and a football guy I know, not from around here, I spoke to the other day, and he said one thing has never changed with Jones. He is still a one-read quarterback, and it is absolutely something that dooms you in this league. You see it time and again. I don't know what he was. I didn't see the post game. Did he say what he was looking at on that play as he watched a wide open receiver on the right side of the field for what would have been a 20-yard game?
Yep. I did not see his.
No, it's all. I got to do better. It's all the same cliche stuff.
But here's the thing, Mike, that I find so frustrating if you're a fan of the Giants. All the things we just said, there are upsides to Daboll and Shane potentially. But you're going to have to make a decision at some point here. And I feel like it's been years of kicking the can down the road with this team. How do you need to get enough? You need to be able to see enough good players on the field where you can judge their coach. And I feel like this is another year where they're not going to have a solid answer at the end.
This team and its fans look done after one Sunday. That's a fact. What my sports center tracks, if you Google certain things, what's trending the most at a particular time around here. The 2025 draft was a big-ticket search thing after they lost to the Vikings on the opening Sunday. This season, it hasn't changed since that. And I don't want to hear that they're close. They're not close. They were close against the Carolina Panthers, but they never go down the field and win the game. And they have become as dreary a product as there is in the league. At least with the Jets, you've got all this Desperate Housewives drama going on. You at least follow them for the drama. There's no reason to follow the Giants. They're not only bad, they're dull. They're unwatchable. And you feel like this has been going on for a long time. Since they last won the Super Bowl, they've had 4 winning seasons. 2 of them were coached by Tom Coughlin, who they already had a hand on his back, heading for the door. One was by Ben McAdoo, which is like some sort of Christmas miracle. And the other one was Brian in 9-7-1. And they are this football that we have seen since the last Super Bowl. This is 60s and 70s. Get the airplane out bad.
We're on with Mike Lupica, his weekly spot here on the Michael K. Show. All right, so let's talk all the owners making the pilgrimage to California to meet with Soto. I think it's such a charade, especially on the Yankee side. I mean, he knows everything he has to know about the Yankees. It's all right, how many zeros you're putting on the check. How do you look at this? I mean, how do you view what's happening?
Michael, I've taken a step back, and you know what, Mike, we talked about this over the last month. I was happy for Yankee fans that their team made it back to the World Series after 15 years. I honestly was. I mean, I got a friend named Ray Motha, going to be 90 years old in April, and he's thinking, am I ever going to see them playing the big game ever again? And they did. But I've also taken a step back, and I've looked at Soto, And a friend of mine makes a good point about Soto. He is a generational hitter, but he's not a generational baseball player. Now, maybe he can get better at the other things that he doesn't do very well. I was thinking about this today because I wrote a column about this guy the other day. Say that they were the same age and they're both available, who would be more attractive to you, Mookie Betts or Juan Soto?
Well, Betts
okay,
does
because
everything.
here's what.
Yeah.
Here's what I'm saying. Here's what I said about Betts, and this sounds off topic, but it's really not. Okay, Mookie Betts is doing something that no one in he's as unique as Ohtani is, because guys have gone from being middle infielders to outfielders before. Robin Yount did it and ended up in the Hall of Fame. Nobody has done what this guy has done, gone from being one of the great right fielders in the game to coming into playing second and short, going back to right field, and probably coming back to the infield. He's a 3-time world champion. It's whatever it is, 8-time All-Star, 7-time Silver Slugger Award winner, 6-time Gold Glove Award winner, batting champion, MVP. And I was thinking, he would not, I don't know if he would have gotten the love that Soto has gotten because he was a Yankee, because he was hitting in front of the guy who hit 58 home runs. You're right, Michael. What do they not know about this guy? I don't even know how this works. Do you say,
and what does he not know about them?
Right, and so I don't, like, you know who needs him much worse than either the Mets or the Yankees? The Red Sox do. I don't know if they're serious about this, and I don't know if they're serious players about it. But if you're talking about a team that needs to make a big splash in this offseason for somebody like Soto, it's them, because their fans are way more pissed off than the Yankee fans were that they hadn't been in the World Series for 15 years, and the Red Sox were just there in 2018.
Are you hearing through the people that you know that Cohen is going to not be outbid for this guy?
I don't know that, Michael. Here's what I know, and I think we've talked about this before. I know that Brian Cashman has thought from the earliest part of this season that Cohen was the boogeyman. Okay, and that's not like this crazy, wild theory. Everybody knows he's got the most money. But when people would talk to him about, are you going to bring him back? And, yeah, we want to, but Cohen. But Cohen. If he wants him, and this is strictly a money play, and again, this is money. In the end, the difference between the best offer and the second offer and the third offer will be money that won't change a single day of the rest of Juan Soto's life. But if it's strictly a money play and Steve Cohen wants him, then I think that Soto's going to be a Met next year.
And if it's strictly a money play and Steve Cohen wants him and doesn't get him, it would be, to me, a seismic loss. Because when you have, I read somewhere, Mike, that Cohen's net worth is more than the next 3 owners combined. So if it's just become a money thing and you don't get him, then I've got to wonder why. Why not? Why didn't that happen?
He's got a lot to offer. Okay, obviously he has New York to offer, and he doesn't have Aaron Judge to offer, but he does have one of the great players in the game in Lindor. I don't know what's going to happen with Pete Alonso, but hitting behind Lindor won't be such rough work if that's the way it turns out. And if they somehow spend $1 bazillion on him and still can keep Alonso, that's a team that would be set up to go after the Dodgers big time next year. But yeah, I'm fascinated if Cohen puts himself out there and loses. But the guy's lost before. I mean, he lost on Verlander big. He lost on Scherzer big, okay? And what he did that time was an immediate market correction, and all of a sudden he ends up in the Final Four this year. And so I don't know if ego will be a factor in this. And we don't know what Boris is looking for. We don't. I mean, if I were John Henry of the Red Sox, and I'm going to this meeting, you know who I'm bringing with me? David Ortiz. I'm bringing David Ortiz. And if I really want him, I'm going to say, here's $700 million and $1. structure it any way you want. And here's Ortiz to tell you what it can be like to win World Series in Boston.
Yeah, but I wonder, all of a sudden, John Henry has found another religion. I mean, the last 3 years, he doesn't want to spend. Now he's going to spend?
He might finally be listening to an extremely ornery fan base, Michael. I mean, they feel let down by them. They look at the Netflix documentary about the 2004 Red Sox, and they think about how good they had it, and then they come back and do it again in 2007. Then they come down and do it again in 2013, and then in 2018. They have the best team they've ever had, and what people forget, because they've been such an afterthought lately, and with a pretty great manager, they were 2 wins away from going back to the World Series a few years ago before they stopped hitting and the Astros went crazy. But after you've had the level of success that they've had in this century, the fan base, they want more. And now that the Yankees have made it to the World Series, they want more. And now that the Mets were knocking on the door, they want more. So it's good being Juan Soto. I wrote about him last week, and I said, that commercial that Ohtani does, we've got now? He's got now. Juan Soto has now, because it's not just how good you are, it's when you're out there. And not only it's when you're out there, but he's out there. There's no other guy out there right now that you can say, well, if we don't get him, we'll get him. No, there's nobody quite like him. And the fact that he's 26 years old, this has only happened a handful of times in baseball history. Alex Rodriguez, when he was on the market coming out of Seattle, God, I looked it up the other day, he'd had 3 straight 40 home run seasons, moving up on the age of 25 as a shortstop. And then there was Bryce Harper, and then there was Manny Machado. And now here comes Soto, and he has delivered in his walk year every bit as much in his own way as Judge delivered with 62 home runs, after he bet on himself.
It is interesting, though, because you bring up the A-Rod part of it. Now, this is before the whole world changed for Alex, but to me, at that age, he was a much better get than Soto because he was a Gold Glove shortstop.
Mike, 100%. And again, we filter it now through the prism of him being a juicer. Okay, but at that time, and I think he was actually a little bit younger than all the 26-year-olds when they came out. No, you go back and look at those stats just for those last 3 seasons in Seattle. They give off a beam of light. He was unbelievable.
Yeah.
You worried about the Knicks at all?
No, I'm not, but here's what I think about the Knicks. I still haven't made up my mind about this trade. I think they're more talented. Somehow they're more talented, not quite as deep as they used to be. I still think they're going to have a problem down the road with things that matter, like point-of-attack defense, and the fact that their 2 best players, Brunson and Cat, aren't very good on defense. And he's going to have to find enough depth. So he was already playing 8 guys, Tom, this early in the season. His rotation, and now he has Matt Ryan, which, by the way, that's a pretty great story to go from being an NFL quarterback to being coming off the Knicks.
But you know what? One thing,
you ever heard of us?
You cannot put him in when the Knicks are up by 25. You just can't.
No.
I see what you did there.
Too soon?
Oh, I see what he did there.
Too soon?
And you know what he's doing it to? He's doing it to a Boston College man, too. He's doing it to a Boston College man, and I hope that makes you feel like a big, important man. Sure.
Well, Mike, I hope you don't cry after this, but we thank you for coming on as always.
No, I was only kidding about the crying. A little bit.
You cry when you see the check.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
Here we go. Oh my God. So he goes with the Boston College dig, and then the fact that he's on a Mike Lupica grant every Wednesday at 4.
Yeah.
There's no better grant. I love it.
All right.
Thanks,
See you
Mike.
guys next week. Bye-bye.
Some big news out of Yankee land.
Great.
You were right, Don.
What was I right about? What was he right about?
Yeah, what was I right about?
You just said you felt it was. I said it's going to be a great Friday, and then you said I see it going the other way. And then the next thing Michael said was Yankee Land, and I said you were right.
You know what? Let me talk to you, Don, like he's not here. Almost like Nirvana, like it was yesterday. We talked about 2 hours of baseball, and I didn't feel guilty at all yesterday. Every time I talk baseball with Clown Shoes here, I feel like I'm cheating on him. Like, oh, gee, that's such going to eliminate Peter. God damn it. Too bad.
You shouldn't be thinking about me. Why should you worry about me?
Because you're part of the family.
Yeah, he's trying to make.
I don't want to put you at the kids' table. That's what essentially we do when we talk baseball.
That's not true. That's offensive and not true. Maybe you just think about the kind of topics that we do. Here, for example, let me hear what's coming from Yankee Land.
Well, the Yankees picked up the option of Aaron Boone. So he is definitely going to be their manager. And I thought about all the hateful people that call in and blame everything that's wrong in the world. Everything. Food shortages, everything on Aaron Boone. They blame everything that they don't like in the world on the Yankee manager. Right. And if they don't blame him, then they blame Cashman. Well, Cashman's statement was, Aaron is a steadying presence in our clubhouse and possesses a profound ability to connect with and foster relationships with his players. Consistently exhibiting these skills in such a demanding and pressurized market, what makes him one of the game's finest managers. Our work is clearly not done. But as we pursue the ultimate prize in 2025, I'm excited to have Aaron back to lead our team. Now, listen, I don't think Aaron's a bad manager. I think he's a good manager. But nowhere in that statement does he say he's a good game manager. No, that's why I believe that in baseball, how you manage men is the most important thing. And Boone manages men very well. They respect him. They play hard for him. And I think that's the bottom line in 2024 when it comes to coaching or managers.
Because there is no such thing, I think, in the analytic world as a good game manager. These games are all kind of dictated before it all happens. It's all ironed out ahead of time. There's very little in-game decisions that are made that aren't organizational. So what they want is someone that's good with the media, good with the day in, day out with the players, does all the little things behind the scenes well, working with those players. But as far as, the batting order, the things that drive all the fans crazy. Why is Judge batting second? Or why is Judge not batting cleanup? Why was this guy pulled? Why is this guy pinch running? Why didn't they steal here? All the things that make baseball fun, they've taken out of that. That's all been worked out ahead of time. Now, whether you like that or not is irrelevant. You have to start grading managers based on that. So for everybody that thinks he should be fired for Nestor Cortez coming into the game, even though we all agree that was the wrong decision, that's an organizational decision, not an Aaron Boone decision. So just live with it, man.
But Aaron Boone would push back and say it was totally his decision.
Well, then
now I would tell you, I would think that all right, he's the one who made the ultimate call, but that was something that was bandied about and talked about and back and forth in the room with everybody. And the best matchup for Ohtani and the best matchup for Freeman is definitely Cortez in the situation. Now, it's obviously Aaron that makes the call, but I think that I don't think that they say you have to do it this way, but it's certainly gently suggested this is the way that works best.
Now, I'm sure we're going to get inundated with phone calls today. A negative reaction to this move.
Oh, you think?
Fine. You're entitled to your opinion. That's Sports Talk Radio. But what I would ask you, who do you want to manage the team? And you can't say anybody else. No, that's not an answer. If you think that Boone is awful, if you think a managerial change is needed, then I need a suggestion on who you want. Because then we can have a discussion, right? If you want somebody fired, who do you want? Who do you want to be the manager? You want them to get Bruce Bochy's not available right now. You want to bring back Buck Showalter? We'll have a conversation. But if you're just going to say, I want him gone, and then when we ask you, who do you want, humana, or I'll take anybody, that's not an answer. Give me an answer. And then we can have a discussion. Because you want to punish him. You want to draw and quarter him because he hasn't won a championship. That's what you want. You want him fired, not because it'll make the Yankees better. You want him punished because he has not won a World Series since he took over. Tell me I'm wrong, guys. Tell me I'm wrong. That's what they want. They want somebody's head on a platter. They want him and Cashman's head on a platter for not winning. But if you ask them, all right, who's going to replace Cashman? Who's going to replace Boone? They don't have an answer because they don't care. They just want to see somebody pummeled for the fact that they didn't win a World Series, period.
The only thing I would push back on it all, I agree with basically everything you said. I think it does go slightly beyond the World Series. If you listen to our callers, it does seem like they have specific complaints. Now, you could argue the specific complaints only exist because they're angry about the lack of World Series. But, I mean, how many times this year, Don, at one point or another, did we hear a myriad of different complaints about Aaron
Michael
Boone?
will be able to answer this better than anybody. The complaints that they have, Michael, what the Yankee fan doesn't realize is that that's kind of the way everybody else in baseball does it. So you have a problem with the Yankees being analytical, but that's the world that we live in.
I think you have a problem with baseball in 2024.
Right, but and I'm not getting on Yankees. Met fans are the same way. Baseball's a regional sport. You focus on your team. You're not sitting there watching all the national games and understanding how the game is played elsewhere to realize that what the Yankees are doing, everybody's doing. So when the guy called, I can't believe Judge isn't batting cleanup. Yeah, because back in the day, your home run hitter batted cleanup. Nobody does that really anymore. Nobody. So stop complaining about it. The game is not all of a sudden going to become 1984. That's not how it works. So I think, Peter, you're right. They do have specific reasons, but ultimately it is they're looking for those reasons to get on the air to pick at because they don't like this guy because he took over for Joe Girardi when he was at that team, overachieved to Game 7 of the World Series, and since then, this is the first year that Aaron was able to get them beyond that. But otherwise, no rings. They want him out, just like they wanted Torrey out after what happened in 2004. They hated Girardi, too, until he finally won, but then hated him after.
Now, here is Boone's statement. I'm grateful for the trust placed in me to lead this team. It's a responsibility and an opportunity that I will never take lightly. It's a great privilege to show up for work every day and be surrounded by so many determined and talented players, coaches, and staff members. Starting with the Steinbrenner family, there is a collective commitment to excellence within this organization that is embedded in all that we do. I'm already looking forward to reporting for spring training in Tampa and working tirelessly to return the Yankees to the postseason, compete for a world championship. Now, I would say this. You picked up his option. What else are you going to do? You can't just say, okay, he's the manager in 2025. That's not the way it works. There has to be more. There has to be. You can't let a guy go into a season as a lame duck manager. Now, I've always fought back on that. I don't understand why, but coaches and managers feel that they need extra years in order to do their job the right way and hold some sway over the players. My guess is that this is not it. There's no way they're going to say, I mean, talk about a lukewarm endorsement. I'm just going to pick up your option and that's it. And, by the way, if you believe the reports, Aaron makes about $3 million a year. Craig Counsell, whose Cubs had an awful season, makes $8 million a year. Dave Roberts is going to get a huge raise. Alex Cora makes $7 million a year. This guy's managing the New York Yankees. You think he's going to be content making $3 million a year when everybody else is making double? Everybody else of significance is making double?
So that tells me that they want him back, but they probably realize that there's might be a tough negotiation ahead. But we know he's coming back in 2025. They pick up the option, but it might take some time to iron this out because I'm sure, the Yankee fans don't agree, but I'm sure Boone's thinking I could probably go someplace else and make more money. I've had success here, been above 500 every year, go to the playoffs pretty much every year, just came off losing in the World Series, went to the League Championship Series 2 years ago. Maybe I can get myself $5-6 million someplace else. So they're going to have to deal with this.
It's going to be an interesting conundrum, though, Don, because I believe that in the present day, the whole managerial salary structure was thrown out of whack by the Cubs, where they went out of their mind to get Craig Counsell. Because in an analytic world, I don't think they put the same import that Joe Torre is making big money back then, but Joe Girardi didn't make that kind of money when they reset and hired Joe Girardi because they don't think that the manager does as much as he used to do.
I understand. But, it wasn't like Counsell did anything in Milwaukee. They didn't win a championship. They didn't even go to a World Series.
But he
didn't
went
go
to the
League
playoffs with a
Championship
low-market team.
So now he goes to the Cubs, and by the way, not a great year with the Cubs.
Terrible.
So I'm sure Boone's thinking, well, maybe I can find somebody. Maybe there is somebody that will give me that money. I don't know.
Well, he's contractually obligated to actually fulfill this deal.
No,
but
I get it.
It would be a real slight to have him go into the season with just a one-year deal. You got to show more than that. If you believe he's the guy moving forward.
Sure.
And remember, it was on this date, however many years ago, that they hired him. And at that time, Brian said, we expect him to be here at the same length of time as Joe Girardi and Joe Torre. Well, Joe Torre was there 12 years. Girardi was there 10. So this would be year number 8 for Aaron coming up. So do you expect him to be the manager for 2 more years and give him those years?
Right. But at what rate? Because is it possible, Michael, that they say, okay, we're going to tack on 2 more years after this, 26 and 27, for $6 million? So
Each?
same rate. And he might go, no.
No, I think he'd say no.
Yeah, so that's where it is. It's like I don't think he's going to fall all over himself to stay with the Yankees if he doesn't think the money's right. He's making $3 million now. He might believe he deserves a raise. Now, Yankee fans are laughing at that, but taking a look at the landscape of what he did compared to what Craig Counsell did, that maybe he's saying, hey, I want 5, and if you're not going to give it to me, then I'll see if somebody else will be willing to give it. Now it's a risk. But maybe there will be a team that says, I like Aaron Boone. I'll give him 5.
Well, it's interesting. Well, right now, most of the jobs are taken, I would think. So,
but not necessarily at the end of next year.
No, you're right. But I'll tell you a quick story about a heavily analytic team who had a pretty successful pitching coach whose contract was up. And then he saw what the guy from Minnesota made by going to college. I mean, he was making I think he got $750,000 a year to go to college. So a massive upgrade over what he was making with the Minnesota Twins. Well, anyway, this analytic team had a pitching coach that was pretty respected, and he came in and wanted bigger money. You know what they said to him? We made you with the information we give you. You'll know your place. So I don't know how that would be when it comes to a manager, because the manager does a lot more than a pitching coach. He has to meet with the media every single day, twice, before and after games. Has to deal with every single problem, injuries and stuff like that. But that is the cold-hearted nature of a true analytic front office. Hey, we made you with our numbers, so don't be pushing it too far.
But a lot of time, it's also the optics of the availability. So let's say Boone decides, no, I'm not going to take your extension. I'm just going to manage out 2025 and see what happens. And the Yankees end up having another successful season, maybe even win the championship. So the Yankees come back and don't offer a lot of money. You don't think there's a team out there that's going to want Aaron Boone and maybe give him more than the Yankees are willing to give him? Because there's a lot of teams out there, Michael, that would kill to have what the Yankees have had over the last 7 years. Kill for it.
It's thrown back in my face constantly, guys. And I said it, and I hold firm in what I said. And it's not because this is why the Yankees shouldn't get rid of him or why they should keep him, but so many Yankee fans have this vendetta against Brian Cashman. And I said once, if Brian Cashman was let go by the Yankees, he'd have a job in a couple of minutes. And they all mock that. They still mock that. Yeah. Well, we'll never know because he's not going to lose his job. And the same thing with Aaron Boone. If Aaron Boone lost his job with the Yankees, there would be teams lining up to hire him. There just would be. Because this job in this market is really, really tough. And everybody in baseball knows exactly how tough it is. And if you could succeed at the level of Cashman and Boone, you have gained the respect of people around the sport. I mean, Billy Beane, like the godfather of Moneyball and all that, has said that Brian Cashman belongs in the Hall of Fame, no doubt about it. They're very close friends, but he goes out of his way to always say that. So, yeah, if Brian ever lost his gig. Now, if he ever lost... Brian's a couple of years younger than I am. I think he's in his, maybe 57, something like that. So maybe after the Yankees, he said, that's it, I'm done. But if he ever wanted to go someplace, they'd be lining up to hire him. Right. Same thing with Boone. So Yankee fans think, these guys are awful. They're not awful. They're really highly considered around Major League Baseball.
Yeah, but obviously the Yankees are a different standard than, say, the Colorado Rockies. Right? So let's say he has a successful season, whatever that is in 2025. There'll be managerial opens this time next year. And maybe, again, I don't know what the Rockies feel about their future. But maybe the Rockies say, listen, I want to bring in a former Yankee manager that's managed in the World Series. I'll give him $7 million a year. I don't know. Because for some organizations, guess what? Aaron Boone's probably on the cover of their media guide. He might be the face of trying to sell season tickets. Listen, we got a winning manager who's won how many games over the last 7-8 years? Not good enough for the Yankees, but there's tons of other teams that would kill to have the Yankees last 7 years. Kill for a chance to lose in 5 games in the World Series. So, I mean, if I were him, I would probably bank on that. If they're just going to give me the same money that I've made and not any kind of a raise, it probably would behoove him to say no. Now, would the Yankees do that? We want you back, but we're going to have you back at the same rate?
I mean, they could try. I think they have to give him some kind of raise. But, I mean, the point is, are they giving him $8 million like Counsell? Are they giving him $7 million like Cora? Or are they going to offer him $5? I mean, I think Aaron knows his worth. But Aaron is also totally lockstep in line with the Yankee front office. So I don't know. And the Steinbrenner family adores him. And I know that Cashman trusts him. So I don't know if they would play hardball with him. But, again, are they diametrically opposed to paying a manager that much money? Because if you're a manager of the New York Yankees, which is arguably one of the toughest jobs in professional sports, and you take your team to the championship game, you lose, but you take them to the championship round, you deserve a raise, I would think, right?
Yeah.
You don't deserve to go into the last season as a lame duck manager, so he's going to make $3 million off the option year, but what's he going to make after that?
Forget about it. You said they love him.
They do. And
they want him to be here as long as Joe Torre was here. Well, then if you want him, you got to have to pay him. Right? I don't think there's any other way around that. That's how you show your love for somebody. That's how you show your worth to somebody. And he has. It was a controversial move at the time. You let go of a popular manager that had won with you as a player, won with you as a manager, and you let him go after Game 7 of the League Championship Series because you wanted to do better. And you went in and brought somebody that is a complete lockstep with you, is pushing the message through. And we've talked many times how many he probably bit his lip a lot in those post-game press conferences, not calling out players, not going old school. Doing your bidding, I think that's worth something. And you're going to take the chance of maybe losing that.
Tweeted out the statement the Yankees had when they picked up the option for Boone. And Sierra retweeted that and added, "The role of managers today confuses me. When I played, the manager's role was to win games, not be everyone's friend." Then I guess he got a lot of pushback. He said, listen, I don't think Boone is a bad manager, but when you ask about bringing your manager back, talk about how they make good baseball decisions, not them being a nice guy. But the key phrase in that, when I played, you don't play, you haven't played in a while, things have changed drastically.
You are arguing from a place of, quite frankly, ignorance. It's not the way the game is played anymore. Now, you might want it to be played that way. I wish it was played that way. It's not how I was brought up. It's not how the game is ingrained in my soul. But you just got to wake up and realize you are critiquing a game that is no longer played the way you played it. So either stop watching or make the adjustment and then start grading and start evaluating things on how they're doing it. You're fighting an uphill battle at that point. What are you doing? Don't be stubborn about it. It's unfair. Isn't it really unfair?
It's a little unfair. But part of the job is you're getting paid to take the hit. You just are. You are the face of the organization. It's a collaborative job, and you get paid a lot of money to sit there and explain it. They don't have to bring, one of the analytic guys down there to sit there and defend it. That's the job of the manager.
Well, that's
and to take total ownership of it.
Well, that's why I've always said the analytic people are gutless because they don't talk to the media. They don't.
Well, Brian does. Brian represents the analytic people.
Yeah, but the guys that are collecting the numbers, they're going to let the Boone's got to go out there and talk about how this is his decision. Which I'm not saying that it isn't in de facto his decision because he agrees with it. But he's going to go out there and he's going to say what I did, not we. He doesn't say we. Right. And there isn't some guy in a tweed jacket that's going to sit there and explain why 65% of the time it works all the time.
But he does get paid more than those people.
Yes. Good point.
To shield these people. But these are the people that you should be criticizing. These are the people that should be explaining to you why it's done that way.
But Brian gets paid more than the manager, and he does explain it. He talks more than most general managers in the city. He does explain it. He'll come on whenever we ask.
I know,
that's just him.
But it's every day. No matter what happens during the course of 162 games, immediately after the game, you turn on Yes, or you listen to their radio and you hear Aaron Boone explain why all those things happen. Yes, Brian will speak at the deadline. Brian will speak when we ask him to, and he'll probably talk, maybe a dozen times during the course of the season. Boone's going to talk 162 times during the regular season and however many post games there are. And he's going to talk all the time in spring training. Michael, he's the face of this.
Right. And they'll
so
say that's part of his job.
I give Brian credit. He talks way more than any other general manager. We've never even uttered a word to Leon Rose since he's been the Knicks guy. And he's great. And he's doing a great job with the Knicks. But we haven't spoken to him. He talks more. I've talked to Brian Cashman in the close to 30 years I've been doing this, Michael, more than any general manager of any team. And I've worked with some teams. By far. And,
no, he's accountable. He really is.
But it's not at the level of Boone.
I want to send out congratulations.
Okay.
All right, Richard in Manhattan. Richard.
I'm here. Hi, can you hear me? Hi, can you hear me, guys?
Oh, now we could. What happened?
Oh, I'm sorry, Michael.
What happened?
Sorry, Don.
Everything all right?
I'm sorry. My phone was. My phone was off. Fellas, and hi to Peter in absentia. The Knicks will be fine. Thibodeau's got to just get these guys coordinated, but he's got the pieces. We need a little bit of a bench, but you have to have your confidence in Thibodeau, and of course I do. This guy will know how to blend everyone together. But you know what's more fascinating, Michael, Don? What the NBA is doing. You remember a couple of years ago, all we used to hear is, you need a big three. You need superstars. This is an NBA league where only stars can win. You don't hear that narrative anymore. And, look at the top three teams in the NBA record-wise now. Oklahoma City, Cleveland, and Golden State.
Yep.
The three of them combined are 23-2. That's unbelievable. Who would have ever thought this? That's how great the NBA is now. I mean, it's so much fun watching these.
Is that your favorite league? Is that your favorite?
Yeah, I love the NBA. Yes, Michael, I love the NBA. And one last thing, fellas. You were talking about Sinatra songs. I am a Sinatra expert, and his greatest song, and the song that should be sung after Yankees losses, is Cycles. 1968, he did that instrumental with Nelson Riddle, and it's a blues song, and he sings about how life, one day you're up and the next day you're down. It is I think it's the greatest Sinatra song.
I have never heard that
I'm
song.
sure I've heard it.
I'm going to have to listen.
Can you find that for us, Jacob? I'd like to. I'm sure I've heard it.
Yeah,
fellas, I can give you a quick verse if you'd love to.
This is going to be
please,
fantastic.
yes, sing it.
All right. There isn't much that I have learned through all my foolish years, except that life keeps running in cycles. First there's laughter, then those tears. And the whole song is like that, how you're up one day and down the next day.
You know what? That would be a good song. And all I have to say is, Peter, I hope you enjoy your day off because you missed that.
Really?
And you know what?
A little pitchy, dude.
It'll be repurposed.
A little pitchy, dude.
It'll be repurposed, but we're going to talk about being here live for that.
Forever. For as long as
other
the show
people
goes on.
Other people are going to hear it.
Where were you when?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like how I missed, what's his name, from North Carolina. I was off that day.
Oh, yeah.
And I've heard it a million times, but I always regret not being here.
Right.
Peter's going to regret not being there for that. We got Richard.
I don't know how it cannot be.
He was pitchy, but
Peter sucks. That's what I'm saying.
Was Ray in North
Carolina. See, that's why I can forget, because I wasn't here.
I mean, Richard is so multifaceted. He pulls teeth. He talks about everything.
He does.
And now, who knew he's the foremost authority on Frank Sinatra?
Anthony, did you know that he had it in him to sing?
It's a special day. It really is.
And you know what? He came dangerously close to the whole ASCAP thing too. I mean, he gave you more than 30 seconds. I mean, I think he was going to go on.
Now, Anthony, did he warn you that he was going to break into song? Or
No, those things usually come up as a surprise.
Hopefully, Jacob can find the actual song. I want to see how he did, because that song. Does that sound familiar
Jacob,
to
you have it? Jacob has it. Let's listen to Frank compared to Richard.
So I'm down and so I'm out, but so are many others.
I have never heard this song. Do you?
There isn't much that I have learned through all my
head neath these covers.
Oh, sometimes it's so fun to do this show.
It is amazing. Oh, this was incredible stuff.
Oh, what a day.
Mark the date down, guys. November 7th, 2024.
And Peter missed it. And let's not forget the Nelson Riddle Orchestra.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
But that didn't even sound like a Sinatra song. I don't know if that would work after a game.
Yeah, I mean, really, it sounds funereal.
Well,
I mean, I think the thing that would work is That's Life.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
exactly.
you lost the game. That's life.
But the thing is, I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a super fan of Frank Sinatra, but I'm kind of surprised that there was a song that is Richard's favorite. I never heard that song.
Yeah, I never.
And I worked at a pharmacy where we had like PAT on all day, and I'd hear all of Frank's stuff. Remember WPAT?
Yeah.
Is it still
I don't
around?
know. I don't. There's a lot of stations still aren't around, even those that are around. Yes, big seismic change in the business for sure. Wow, I think we've got to, as I like to say, we've got to towel off. I just dropped my glass.
You haven't said that in a long time.
Wow, we've got to towel off. There's a lot to consider what we just lived through. And I'm glad we lived through it because we could talk about it many years from now. Remember when Richard did this?
Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with a spin, traveling in a world of my creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. And if you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Wanna change the world, do something to it. There is no life I know to compare with your imagination. Take a look and you'll see into your imagination.
By the way, I see a tweet here from someone who sounds like the kind of guy who would call us up about the name of X, and he wrote, "This fight is a joke and a disgrace to the sport of boxing." Don, I do wonder how many people out there who that's their default. I do wonder how much actual time they've spent supporting the sport over the last 15 years.
Well, they might. I mean, if you're I brought it up at the beginning of the show. If you're a diehard boxing fan, love it. You could look at this for what it is and think it's a joke.
I will
but
tell
you're
you
probably
this,
still happy that eyeballs are coming to the sport this weekend.
But this is, I mean, God, I pray that this doesn't happen. But if Tyson is killed in the ring.
Oh, my God.
No, I'm serious. It could be a death blow to the sport that something like this with a how old is Mike?
58.
58-year-old man, it's sanctioned. Listen, if you want to do a circus act, fine, but somebody sanctioned it. The state of Texas sanctioned this as a legitimate fight. It's going to be an awful look if he's really, really hurt. Just saying. They better pray that it doesn't happen.
God forbid that certainly would be a horrible look. I don't think that's on the table, but yeah, I mean.
Sure. I mean, you love boxing. I love boxing too. But the fact that they let Mike Tyson fight Larry Holmes, not Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali fight Larry Holmes. I mean, I mean, that led to his downfall, too. I mean, it just accelerated all things that happened to the guy.
Well, but think about it like this, though. Muhammad Ali, here you go. Wow, I'm just doing this math in my head, guys. Think about what Muhammad Ali was like at Mike Tyson's age. That was in 2000. Muhammad Ali was Mike Tyson's age in 2000. He had already been someone who had been clearly debilitated by everything that happened in Parkinson's for years already. Mike is, what I'm saying, Don, is, if you can let me get the word out without you making a slight sound, is that, wouldn't we already know that? Like, I'm not saying, Don, that Mike can't have something bad happen, but, like, he's in fine shape. I don't see why he wouldn't be capable of having... Listen, if he got in with Tyson Fury, to me, that's when we start to say it's a disgrace. Jake Paul is not Tyson Fury.
He's a big man, though.
He's a big man. He's a big man. He's a guy who has 10 boxing matches in which he's looked pretty good against really over-the-hill guys or MMA guys who are not boxers.
How do you think it's going to go? Think Tyson has a chance?
I think that the first round will be very exciting, and the whole world will be standing up in their living rooms thinking, oh my God, are we going to see it happen? And then I think, unfortunately, and I truly hope I'm wrong, because nothing would make me happier than a Tyson knockout, I think after that Mike kind of starts slowing down and clenching a bit, and then it's sort of a war of attrition, and Jake Paul probably wins on the cards. That's my unfortunate and boring prediction.
I'm sorry I made a noise, Peter. But,
no, you didn't. Well, you just made it the whole last part without making one solitary noise.
Is that in Atlanta in '96 when he lit the torch?
Exactly.
He was 54 because that was in '96. Everybody can picture that moment.
Absolutely,
in their mind's eye, Susan. Of
that
him
crossed
shaking.
my mind the second I saw it. Yeah.
So now 4 years later, he's 58 years old. So to make your point, but you know what? Technology is different over the last 25 years. Certainly, Tyson is a lot healthier than Muhammad Ali is. I'm with you, Peter. I don't think he's going to die in the ring. But I think you nailed it. There's going to be hope early, and then the age is going to show as the fight progresses.
Let's go to Jonathan in L.A. Jonathan.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Guys, the one thing I'm not going to call and tell you guys or ask you guys to do is to call why you guys call X Twitter X, whatever. Oh, my goodness. What kind of call is that? It's crazy the type of calls you guys get. Well, yeah, Peter, that's the main reason why I was calling. Like, I wasn't sure if you're going to be there tomorrow or Friday, so I wanted your prediction. But now that you gave it to us, I mean, it's crazy that my son is 7 years old, and I always show him videos of Tyson. And now I never thought he was going to see a fight of Tyson. It's funny. Yesterday he told me, oh, look, Papi, Tyson is going to fight. I'm like, yeah, we can't wait. So do you think there's a small chance that Tyson could even, like, humiliate himself, like probably get knocked out by Jake Paul? Or, well, I mean,
I will say, so that's a really good question, Jonathan. In terms of possible downside, because the speculation is we don't know the exact numbers. They're saying Tyson's set to make as much as 20, and Jake Paul, whose company is promoting it, could make as much as 40. Which, by the way, I think is a little bit unfair. But that's
unfair. But he signed the deal with Netflix first.
Right, he and it was his team,
right,
and that made the whole thing happen. So I get it. I just think the amount that Tyson brings to the table here cannot be understated.
You're right.
I mean, Jake Paul's fought many times. You guys have not watched one of them. You're both going to watch this one, and I don't think you're the only two people like that. Particularly as you get into older demos. So Mike's going to make a lot of money, and I'm sure that is the primary impetus for him doing this. I don't think there's a major risk to him embarrassing himself, but because at this point, Mike kind of has entered this weird period with American culture where I think he's just beloved, and if somehow he really got, like, knocked out, it would be uncomfortable at first, and then I can kind of picture, Don, you can kind of picture a year from now, him on Jimmy Kimmel making jokes about it, and kind of you move forward, but I don't think that's likely. If you guys recall, I don't know that you lose your chin in that way. I mean, we have seen it happen.
Yeah, but we've seen him knocked down, Peter. I mean, he's been knocked down.
But it's so few times I mean, he was knocked down, of course, and knocked out by Douglas. Knocked down twice in that fight. He was knocked down once by Holyfield. He ended the fight against Danny Williams back in 2004 on the canvas, but that was after he torn his meniscus. So, like, he just doesn't have a lot of knockdowns and punishment that he's taken.
Right.
So I'd be surprised. Listen, I'd be surprised if Jake Paul had it in him. But to that point, Mike is 58 years old, and even though he says he's training, he says he's currently boxing, he's sparring 8 rounds a day every day. However, you guys know when the big lights are on, I feel like every time we watch a big fight, the people get way more tired when it's the match versus sparring. So will the pressure affect him? You see him get worn out and maybe susceptible to catching something? Maybe. I just don't think so.
Well, I said this last week, and I stand behind it. If Tyson has a chance of winning, he's got to connect in the first round. I'm sure he still has power. After that, there's a chance he will get knocked down and knocked out. He's 58 years old, and he's going to get tired.
And if it goes on and on, he may just go down.
Paul is a big man. You're going to lean against him and wear him out. And then one punch could knock him over. So I think it has to be done early, let's put it this way, Peter. I don't think this is going to be a decision.
Wow, really? That's interesting because I sort of think it will be. But I could see what you're saying. I mean, that eventually it's sort of wear and tear. And Mike ends up going down, maybe not knocked out in any sort of spectacular fashion, but just a collection of punches, and he goes down. I suppose I could see that. I really hope not.
Let's go to John in Yonkers. John.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. What's up?
Well, I just wanted to say quickly, Michael, just with the not calling the Yankees game, it's just cue the Justin Timberlake Cry Me a River, but it will be exciting. I'll be there. And then I just wanted to say that, people call in all the time talking about just like sports being rigged. As a big sports fan, I don't believe it, but I could see if you're talking about one event, this being rigged, just from the sense of, massive amount of money down in Dallas. If Tyson wins, and, I'm sure you could swing it any way, but if Tyson wins, they're going to keep this thing going for a year. It'll be a whole big next fight. Then you really can't miss it. And, just obviously make a great story. Netflix is all about producing content. There's nothing better for them to have a second fight. So,
I don't hate the take. Since it's a sanctioned fight, I hope that they have guardrails that it can't be rigged. But don't you think, Peter, this is one and done for Tyson?
No, I think that if he performs well, I think they will try to go back in for at least one more.
Wow.
I don't know whether people would say, let's see him and another older guy do one, similar like we saw him with Roy Jones, where they try to get Holyfield or someone like that. Now, listen, if somehow Mike looks incredible and knocks out Jake Paul in spectacular fashion, which I think is not likely, but he catches him, and it's a glorious yesteryear Mike Tyson left hook, and you can feel like 100 million people around the world cheering. I guarantee you the top heavyweights of today will try to get the fight with Mike Tyson.
Amazing. Because he's still the one draw.
Because he would be the draw. I mean, guys, how many times have we been on this show and I've talked about that there was an Anthony Joshua fight or Deontay Wilder fight or another, big heavyweight, and the fact of the matter is the casual sports fan doesn't care, but if they hear it's Mike Tyson, guess what they do?
It's getting clearer now, the teams that look to be in on Juan Soto. But, of course, as with every client of Scott Boras, there's always the secret teams that we can't figure out. But the ones that I think that make the most sense, Yankees, the Mets, they say the Red Sox are in, the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Blue Jays. Now, there could be other teams that have the money. The Cubs have the money if they like. The Phillies have the money, so they could be in as well. But those make sense to me. And the Blue Jays have so much money because the family that owns the Blue Jays, they own all of cable in the country, not just Toronto. It's the Rogers family.
The Rogers have done well in
They've
Canada.
done very, very well. So I don't think that there's any budget that they're going to bust. It'll be extremely intriguing to me, though, because the Blue Jays, before last year, they offered essentially the same deal that the Dodgers offered to Ohtani. And they didn't get him. And they probably would have offered more. But at some point, Ohtani was like benevolent and said, you know what? Don't keep doing this. This is enough for me with the Dodgers. So will Juan Soto actually take his talents to Toronto, north of the border? You know, the Red Sox being in play. I think the Red Sox saying they're in play, now it's just a guess on my part. Maybe they surprise all of us. If they see it's going to cost, $50 million, $55 million a year for 14 years, are they really in? I think that they're trying to satisfy a very angry fan base because the Red Sox have been bad for the last 3 years. And they don't spend money. And believe me, they print money like the Yankees do with Yes and the Mets do with SNY. Well, Cohen doesn't own SNY, so I take that back. But what the Yankees do with Yes and the Dodgers do with their cable company, the Red Sox own NESN. They own Fenway Park. Mm-hmm. So obviously they have the money. I just don't think that they're in play. Now, it makes sense for them to say they're in play because even if the Yankees sign him, you want that price to go up as high as possible. But I thought one of the great points made in the paper today, and it was by Mike Vaccaro, Don, he said, please stop with the history of the franchise. It doesn't mean anything to players. It means something to fans and sports writers. It means nothing to Juan Soto that the Yankees are the crown jewel franchise in all of baseball. It doesn't. Who's going to pay him more? The Mets or the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Blue Jays? That's what it's going to be. So it's going to be. And one thing that was written today, I think Jeff Passan had it. He believes that this is going to be done by the winter meetings on December 9th. So we'll have an answer. He thinks by December 9th it's not going to be dragged out, which I think is what every team needs.
I think Buster had said December 15th, and so Passan December 9th. So we're all looking at, the beginning, during, or after, immediately after the winter meetings. So we're about a month away. So that kind of makes sense, and I think that gives time for the losers to be able to go and gobble up the free agents that they need. So that's good. You didn't want this, going into February where all the real good free agents are gobbled up by the teams that weren't in on Juan Soto. But it makes sense for all these teams to be in, give their fan bases some hope that their franchise is going to get this kind of a player. But ultimately, are they going to be able to dance with the Cohen money? If Steve Cohen is willing to go as far as he needs to go. So that's the X factor. Is there a budget for the Mets? And does it exceed the budget of other teams? As you said, Blue Jays, very wealthy team. Red Sox, very wealthy team. We know how much money the Yankees have. But we all know none of them really come close to the wealth that Steve Cohen has away from the Mets. How much is he willing to dip in to that $20 billion he's worth outside of the Mets organization? How much? Or is Stearns going to tell him, no, listen, we're going to have to work within some sort of a budget, and we can't get that crazy. But, Michael, if he wants to pay him $60 million a year, then he's going to the Mets. I don't think any of these other teams are going to dance. I don't think the Yankees have any appetite to do it, and I don't think the Blue Jays and the Red Sox have the money to go that far.
I think the Blue Jays do.
Well, $60 million for 13 years?
They might. I think the Yankees would say, no, we're not going there.
Yeah, I don't think the Yankees will go there. The Red Sox, you made the point. The Blue Jays are the national team in Canada. Ton of money with Rogers. But if Cohen decides to go now, I'll go 65. Are they able to get into, that auction house kind of back and forth, who's going to put the paddle up with the number, the last time? And the suggestion is that Steve Cohen is that guy. But we don't know. We know he can do that, but do we know he was willing to go as far as anybody else, and even more so? Do we know that for a fact? We don't. We know he's got the money to do it, but does he have the appetite to do it?
And we know that starting, I believe, it's this week, are the Dance For Me meetings. And Francisco Lindor.
Oh, we love those.
Francisco Lindor is heading to California to be part of that meeting. It's just unbelievable to me. It's a charade is what it is. It's a charade because it's all going to come down to money. Because everybody that's going to be in certainly wants to win. And, to make people fly across the country, again, not the most arduous thing when you're flying private, but still to do that, for what? Especially the Yankees, for what?
All right, so if it's something deeper than a dog and pony show, what are we looking at? A say in how the franchise is run? Could Juan Soto and Boris be asking for, hey, I want everything to run through me?
No, well, that's an automatic no matter how great he is.
Well, it might be an automatic no for the Yankees, but that doesn't mean it's an automatic no for, say, the Giants, who seem to get turned down by every free agent that they go after, or the Blue Jays, who seem to get turned down by every free agent they go after. I agree with you. I don't think the Yankees would allow it. But would the Blue Jays say, hey, yeah, you can run our franchise?
I don't think so.
Would the Giants say
I think that what we found over time is that active players are the worst GMs of all time.
Of course. But I look at Toronto and San Francisco specifically, that they feel like they're close. Whether it's true or not, I think they both believe they're close. San Francisco's got a new GM. They were 2 games under 500 last year, but they're in a very competitive division. Arizona's very good, and we know how good the Dodgers are, and the Padres. They want to move up. Nobody seems to want to take their money. Buster Posey, is now running the show there. How far are they willing to go to finally land the big kahuna? I don't know. I would think they would have a limit. I don't think it's a good idea to give carte blanche to any player, but how many times do you want to be told no by every big free agent in San Francisco and Toronto? When's enough where they say, all right, we got to win one of these? How far are they willing to go to have that happen? I don't know.
I mean, listen, all great players that are signed to long-term contracts, they're I wouldn't say they're part of the decision-making process, but they're certainly alerted what's going on. I mean, Aaron Judge was alerted when they were getting Juan Soto. That's what you do to a franchise player. So he will be made aware. I don't think anything's going to take him by surprise. But if you ever give up any kind of authority to a player, David Stearns wouldn't do it. No. Brian Cashman would never do it. I don't think Buster Posey just got the job. Buster Olney wouldn't do it. Would not be giving. The champ wouldn't do it, Peter.
It doesn't. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you're the general manager, but we've all agreed that things get run by Judge, but based on the amount of money that they paid him. Aaron Judge is a part of the process. He's not the process. He's part of the process. Is that what Juan Soto's asking for? Like, I want a seat at the table right next to Judge. When you guys have meetings about free agents and trades and direction of the franchise, if Judge has a seat at the table, I want one right alongside him. Like something like that. Are we talking about that?
I don't know.
Are we talking about a percentage of T-shirt sales? I don't know. Because it probably just is a glorified dog and pony show. Jump for me, dance for me, clown. That's probably what he's doing.
This is the thing that bothers me, and maybe I'm just too sensitive about it. I think it's unseemly. Now, I believe that he should get as much money as he possibly can. He should break every record if he can. You should have teams bidding against each other. But having them make presentations to you like this, and somebody told me that, Scott has put out like a dossier of over 100 pages. He's not telling any GMs or owners anything that they don't know. The analytics have caught up with Scott Boris's analytics. So, I mean, again, having the Yankees, who you know more about than any team other than the Nationals, fly out there to do what? So, again, I just think he's a good guy. He handled himself in a really great way all year. Why do this? Why make people dance for you? Again, some professional athletes, like LeBron, never got the chance to be seduced by a college. They never got recruited. Mm-hmm. So I think they want to feel the love. But if I'm the Yankees and I knew that I'm going to offer the most money, I'm not saying that that's the case, I'd say, you kind of know what we're about. But you can't, because if you don't get them, then your fan base will jump all over you. Why didn't Hal fly out? I don't understand. Why did the Yankees play so hardball? But it's unseemly. It really is.
It feels that way, unless there is something else to ask for. Now, educate me, Michael. If you were to give him a percentage of merch, does that also fall under the threshold as income, right? So it's just like a salary cap where, even if it's not money. I remember having a conversation, what if they offered, the Knicks offered LeBron James a helicopter to take him from Manhattan to Westchester every day? That would count towards the cap. It would count as salaries. You can't do it. All right, so it isn't anything like that. Now, you also said, or at least Alex said, that the rumors of a merchandise tent with Alex Rodriguez was BS.
Right.
That didn't happen. But that's according to Alex. Is Alex telling the truth?
Well, I think
something Boris was asking.
I think that what happened, because he didn't ask for it from Texas. He didn't ask for it with the Yankees. So when he signed that new deal, but I think it was this. I think that's, Scott Boras can ask for the moon, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that Steve Phillips was under marching orders from the Wilpon. They did not want to swim in the deep end of the pool. And they said, you come up with something that, we're not going to, we can't sign him. So I think Steve Phillips would have loved to have had him.
Yeah, because it ended up being the 24
and 1, right.
Yeah, and for people that don't remember that, because it was 20-something years ago, is that the rumor was Alex was asking for like a merchandise tent and all this extra stuff, and the Mets were like, listen, I don't need to have 24 players and then you. But Alex said that didn't happen. It didn't happen in Texas. It didn't happen with the Yankees. So it does seem like it might have been something that was made up. But that's what I'm thinking of. Like, what extra? Like, Toronto must know. Listen, I'm the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm not even in the United States. All right, I'm not a team that has a history of winning over the last 3 decades. What extra can I entice him with besides paying him the most money? But that also suggests that it's something other than money. I don't know. I don't think it's anything other than money. I don't think Juan Soto needs a merchandise tent. I don't think Juan Soto wants a seat at the table to be the general manager. I just think he wants to be the highest paid player. And these conversations are probably like, are you going to, there's a guy in New York that's got sitting on a ton of money. You could be able to dance with him. Otherwise, don't waste my time. And if they say yes, okay, we'll get back to you. And in the Yankees, I think all the Yankees want to know is, please promise me that whatever you're offered, you'll come back and ask us if we can match it. I'm sure that's what they're curious about. Those are the conversations I think that are happening here.
Now, according to Jeff Passan, this is the order. Blue Jays have the first meeting this week. Red Sox are next, then the Mets and the Yankees. And we'll see who goes after that.
Now, maybe it's just a question. All right, so how much are you worth?
Well, how much do you want to pay me? They're not going to ask him how much are you worth.
Well, but just meaning, but that kind of answers the question, right? Like, he probably knows how much Steve Cohen is worth. He might not have an intimate knowledge of how much Rogers pulls in. Like, are they going to be able to pay me what I want? What are they worth? If they're not worth that much, then they're not going to be able to pay me what I want.
Yeah, but Scott Boras knows exactly what every owner's worth.
I would think so.
And what every team makes. So, again, that's why I say it's unseemly for a guy who handled himself with such grace all year to be doing this, lotto thing now, lottery, where people have to do it, put their top hat on and cane and dance in front of them. It's just,
but like you said, you're only in this situation, once in your life. Like Soto might have another contract at the end of his career.
Well, when he opts out.
But this is the big time. Like, for all of LeBron James bouncing around, Michael, it never got bigger than when he first left Cleveland to go to Miami. The decision and all. It never got bigger than that. And to some players, this is where you really get to find out what you're worth and to be seduced. So maybe there's something intoxicating about that. But I can understand your view. It does seem unseemly. We know what you want. We'll make the offers. Why do I have to dance for you, too? Isn't it good enough that I'm going to hand you more money than any baseball player has ever made in this world or any other? But I got to now dance. I got to dance it to the table? Please.
He's not coming back. He's not coming back.
No, I don't think that's outrageous.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it. I just don't see it.
Honestly, I don't know how Yankee fans would admit, but there is no way right now you could feel good about him coming back. I'm not saying he's not going to, but Michael, Peter, what information have you gotten? What indication at all that makes me feel good that he's coming back?
Well, you heard his warm and fuzzy comments after the season. Oh, just kidding. There were none of those.
Well, the only thing that I think a Yankee fan would say is, well, we're the New York Yankees. Why would he leave? But I think that's been debunked by just the things that he said and who his agent is. Now, maybe that does happen. And he just decided, I can't leave here, but that can't be the way you'd bet.
Let's go to Alan in Morristown.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
How are you guys? I love your show. and I think you're all great and love listening to you. Listen, I think he's not going to one of the clubs that you're all thinking about.
You're thinking Washington.
I think that I'm thinking Washington. I'm thinking even Houston. Like, I think tax is going to be a consideration for him. You could say no, but I'm telling you, he's going to want to go someplace for a long period of time where he pays a little less tax. I think he's going to think about it. Houston's a great club. Think about, and he wants to be the biggest fish in the sea. He doesn't want to be with Judge, and I don't know that he wants to be on the Mets. For all that we're talking about the Mets, I don't see it. I think he wants to be somewhere where he is the guy. And somehow I don't think it's any of the clubs that we're talking about.
Why he would be the man with the Mets? So what would be the problem there? What are you not seeing with the Mets?
He's not going to be just the man with the man. He wasn't the man with the Yankees. Come on, Don, that's not true.
But Alan, if he's the man wherever he goes, right? He's not going to be the man in Houston. Jose Altuve's a legend there. Not going to be the man there.
No, but Altuve's getting a little old.
He just signed a 5-year contract.
Okay, but not a 12-year contract.
Oh, but you only have Judge for 7 more years.
But who on the Mets would be bigger? That would be in the same stratosphere with Soto?
I don't know. You know, they have a lot of great players. I mean,
so does Houston. So does all.
But Alan, we keep hearing Scott Boras say he wants to be in a team that wins. If he's going to be the only star on the team, and we thank you for the call, then he's not going to win. You're going to have other stars with you. And from everything that I could see with my own eyes and things that I've heard, he and Judge got along famously.
But anywhere he goes, besides, Judge isn't going to be here forever. If he signs a 13-year contract, Michael, there could be a
6
good
years.
7-8 years post-Judge where he could be the man. And who would be the man with the Met? I mean, Lindor's a great player. Alonso's probably gone. You're telling me Juan Soto wouldn't be the man anywhere he went?
Except L.A.
Except L.A. That I agree with, but he was like, I wouldn't see him going to the Mets. He wants to be the man. He'd be the man with the Mets. And I'm not talking about the Mets because I'm a fan, Michael, but like he dismissed, like, why would he go to the Mets? Why not? If the Mets yell for him more money, that's exactly where he's going to go.
Well, one thing that we should stop doing, though, and we've got maybe another 3 weeks of talking about this, let's not try to think outside the box. It's going to come down to money, not whether he's the man or not.
Right.
And Houston does not spend that much money on players. The biggest contract they ever gave out was to Altuve. They've lost players because of that. They let George Springer go.
Oh, yeah.
And they still have to sign Alex Bregman. They are not coming up with that kind of money. That's not how Jim Crane operates.
Well, and also, Michael, if there is a smidge less, then it could be to a place where taxes come into being. But taxes are a problem in New York. Taxes are a problem in California. Taxes are certainly a problem in Canada. How are they in Massachusetts?
Bad. Taxes are really bad in Massachusetts.
So really, the only place is Florida and Texas. That's why I think the Rays probably threw their hat in the ring, because the money's probably worth more. So if he ended up going to the Rays for a little bit less, it might be because there are no taxes. But in New York, in Los Angeles, in Canada, in Boston, it's going to just be who gives them the highest amount of dollars.
Sometimes, I mean, listen, sometimes I go back and forth. In one sense, I get it. You're making so much money, the taxes are like a big deal. And then, I don't know if you feel the same way, Don. And then sometimes I'm like, really? You're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, and you're acting as if like, well, if I go to Texas, I could save a few bucks, so I could really live the life I want to live.
You know what? It's a great point. It's a super point, especially when you consider the fact that it's not really about the dollars in your pocket. It's just about how much money the contract says.
Yeah, but
it's the sexiness of this is how much I get paid.
I think you're being somewhat naive, Peter. Because
I mean,
the richest people in this country are living in Florida now. For what reason? They like the heat?
Because they're cheap bastards.
But that's right. The richest people are the cheapest people. They don't want to pay taxes.
But I hear that. I understand there's a lot of money attached to it. I'm just saying, to me, it's so wild as a pro athlete. If you have a chance to get a $600 million contract, you wouldn't rather play for a better organization, or one that gives you a chance, or one that's in a really cool place to live, because you're just like, I need an extra $40 million over the contract.
Well, I think what Don said is accurate. If it's close, he'll go to the team with, that has no taxes.
Right, but what I'm saying is, and maybe I'm wrong, I'll never know what it's like to get offered this kind of money. I feel like it's all so much money. If it's close, I'd go to the better place to be.
I got you.
You know, either a better team, a more fun place to live.
Well, what would the day be without a Juan Soto update? What would it be?
I don't know. What would it be?
It would be Soto-less, and we can't have that. So there's 5 teams that have made an initial offer. There are the Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Blue Jays, and the LA Dodgers. Don't know what the offers are, but obviously I don't know if you put. I'm not sure how you negotiate. I have trouble negotiating for myself, so I'm not sure how I would negotiate with somebody else. I don't know if you put your best foot forward and say this is the best we have, or you start low and you risk ticking off somebody. Not quite sure, but I think they all know what part of the pool they're swimming in, so it's got to be a somewhat decent offer. I think that what's going to get done is anywhere a yearly average annual salary between 45 and 50. Mm-hmm. And if you go below that, I think it's going to be tough to get them. Now, I also think this: if each team bids what is reasonable and fitting within the revenue created by the organization and what that revenue supports, the Yankees will have the best bid. But I don't think that that's what's going to happen. The Yankees have the highest revenue in baseball by a lot, 2.5 times more than the Mets. And I don't know exactly how much more than the Dodgers, but higher than the Dodgers. So again, if you bid responsibly, just from your revenue, the Yankees should have the highest bid. But I don't believe that that's going to be the case. I think that this is the type of thing where the Rogers family steps up and probably bids more than the revenue supports. I think Steve Cohen steps up and probably bids more than the revenue supports. Same thing with the Dodgers, same thing with the Red Sox. Now, just like handicapping all of them, the Red Sox might be the most desperate because their fan base is really angry and they're losing their fan base because they keep finishing in last place. I think it's 3 times in the last 5 years, and they've been cheap. So if they go all out for them, they certainly have the finances to go all out for him and change the whole paradigm and the way their organization is thought of. I think it's fascinating. I think this is just the first round. They said that it's going to get done maybe before, or everybody that we've had on said it's going to be done before the winter meetings, and the winter meetings start on, I believe it's the 9th. So next week, you still have some breathing room, and then it's supposed to be done before the beginning of next week when the winter meetings begin. But I think this is a fascinating process right now, and I can honestly say I don't know who's going to come out on top.
Well, this is supposed to weed out the pretenders. So is there a pretender among those 5? Maybe the Red Sox?
I don't know. I thought that way, Don, but it looks like they're serious.
Well, they're serious, but they're going to go for the jugular. They want to get as much as they can from this. So that's why they're doing this layered. Like, if your first offer is not in the ballpark, it sounds like they're just going to say goodbye. So I'm sure, even though you're not going to look at the books of ownership, I'm sure Scott's smart enough to know, okay, how deep are the pockets of Cohen? How deep are the pockets of Rogers? How deep are the Yankee pockets, the Dodgers, Red Sox? Of the 5 teams, Michael, it feels like the Red Sox probably have the least amount to work with.
What do you mean?
As far as money is concerned.
No, they got plenty of money.
Oh, no, of course they've got plenty of money, but do they have Cohen money? Do they have Yankee Dodger money? Do they have Rogers money? That's what I'm saying.
They've got a lot of money, though, because they do own Nesson and they own the Fenway. So, I mean, I think they're okay. And John Henry is loaded.
I know, I understand.
But not loaded. Nobody's loaded like Steve Cohen.
Right, but that's my point. Michael, saying you come in 5th of these teams is not an insult. So, but I just feel like John Henry's money, Nesson's money, Fenway money is that dancing with the other 4 teams. Listen, and I would probably put the Blue Jays closer to the Red Sox. I know Rogers has money, but do they have the bottomless pit that Cohen has and the revenue that the Yankees and the Dodgers can generate? And that's also, can I get this money back? I mean, even though Cohen and Rogers have tons of money, That they're not just spending it not to want to see a return for their investment. Will they get the return on their investment?
If he plays the way he's played his first 6 years, I guess they will.
Okay, fine.
I don't know if they'll get it over 15 years.
But the point is, it's not just how he plays. How does the team play? Because if he goes out there and hits 300, hits 50 home runs, drives in 130 runs, and the Toronto Blue Jays finish 500 and out of the running, and the ballpark's not full, and they're not watching the product on television because the team isn't very good, well, then they're not going to be able to get a return on their investment. So that's all going to get factored in there as well. Now, I look at of the teams that are there. The 5 teams, and jump me if you think I'm wrong. The 2 teams that I think it's solely a baseball move would be Yankees and Dodgers. They don't need any more attendance. They don't need any more attention. Dodgers just won a World Series. They're the team in L.A., maybe there with the Lakers, but right now I think it's probably the Dodgers. A forever franchise, consistently in the playoffs. Same with the Yankees, consistently in the playoffs, generate a ton of revenue, ballpark's full, everybody's watching and listening to the product. They're making this move because they want to improve their chances of winning. The other 3 teams, I think, they want to win, but they're also trying to stay clean. Red Sox trying to win some fans back over. It's been tough. They've been cheap. So, they want to win, but they also want to prove to their fan base that, hey, we're back.
Right, they want to win back their fans.
They want to win back their fans. The Blue Jays, they've always been chasing relevancy. It's been 30 years since they've won. They're the lone team in Canada. They feel like they want to prove to their country and to the rest of Major League Baseball that they are a player. They've had a ton of talent, but they haven't won in a long time. So there's baseball, but there's also they want to plant their flag. And I think the Mets want to plant their flag. It's been a long time since they played second banana to the Yankees. They've never truly beaten the Yankees in winning over a free agent. It's been a long time since they've been as good or as relevant as the Yankees have been. So as much as Cohen wants to win, I think this could be a major statement to their fans and to their worth to beat the Yankees at something. So I don't know what all that means at the end of the day, but I think the Dodgers and Yankees are in it purely for baseball. The other 3 have another modus operandi, which might make them dig a little deeper into their pocket, maybe a little deeper than they want to check those extra boxes.
Now, I would think of those 5, and there might be more. I mean, Philadelphia met with them too, so Philadelphia might make some kind of an offer, but right now there's been 5. Of the 5, I think 3 fall under desperate. I think the Red Sox are desperate. I think that the Blue Jays are desperate. Mm-hmm. And although the Mets got to the NLCS, I think they're desperate for what Don just said, to get a generational player and to beat the Yankees at something. And to show their fans, you know what, it's a different sheriff in town. So I think of those 3, the least desperate is the Mets, because they can still make hay this offseason by getting great pitchers, signing other players. There's other ways for them to go. But in terms of like a statement move, getting Soto and taking away from the Yankees would be big. The Red Sox need him because their fan base is eroding because they're sick and tired of John Henry not spending. And the Blue Jays need him because they have to do something. Yeah. And they've got to show Vlad Guerrero that we're serious about signing you too, because if they don't bring in a Soto, they might not get Vlad Guerrero back. They might not get Bo Bichette back, but I think they're desperate to bring back Guerrero. I don't think the Dodgers are desperate. They just want a World Series, so you can't say that.
This coming Monday on Yes, gather around the fire with our team of Yankees experts as they begin another intriguing season of Yankees Hot Stove. Bob Lorenz, John Flaherty, Jack Curry, and Michael Kay offer their takes on Juan Soto. Blake Snell heading to the Dodgers to solidify that rotation, and the rest of what could potentially happen in the majors before the winter meetings begin the week of December 9th in Dallas. That's a brand new season of Yankees Hot Stove premiering next Monday right here on Yes, and streaming, of course, on the Gotham Sports app.
Show. Pick'em Pro Picks.
3. Oh, yeah. Here we go. It's getting tight. Especially between second and third. Peter had a 4-point week last week at 2-1. Don had a 3-point week at 2-1. Michael had a 2-point week at 1-2. Don, by the way, has picked 11 straight 2-point winners, which is just inconceivable.
It's astounding.
It's an astounding stat. And Peter had the best record, so Peter goes first.
How's everyone doing?
Good, and yourself?
I've been better. I don't love the slate. But I already said it earlier, so I'll get to my big 3-point play. You know where I'm going, though, guys. Under 10 Lions at home in this era, the Campbell era, the 24th year in his Lord's name, whatever the saying is.
The year of our Lord.
The year of our Lord, Dan Campbell? Are you crazy? I mean, the Bears, no. Guys, there's like a handful of teams that I think wouldn't lose by 10 or more against Detroit at home. Give me the Lions. I'll be sucking down 7-layer dip and celebrating as the Lions put up a 45 spot on the Bears.
This is your 3-pointer?
Yeah.
So you're going against convention. Usually we go 1 point, 2 point, 3 points, but you've forgotten that.
But I'd already given this away.
Okay.
Yeah, remember?
So
no, I do remember.
So I'm working backwards. You know what I mean?
I hear you.
Which leads me to my 2-point play, guys. And I got to tell you, up and down the board, a lot of scary things happen, and it's going to lead me back to the people that I like to ride with, like the boys who did me well last week. Give me Lamar Jackson and them boys. Listen, the Eagles are a very good football team. Got news for you. I don't. Him and Hall, you want? They're not going 15-2.
That's an interesting sound. That's an interesting sound.
Okay, well, Mike, it came right after Michael's, which was an outright. That's a bad pick. So, go ahead then. I hope the Eagles are your 3-point player. Shut your face.
Yeah, exactly.
I like the Ravens for 2 points. Listen, Lamar Jackson's got something to prove this year. This is another one of those spots. A marquee Hello Friends game in Baltimore against another really good team. I'm getting it at a field goal. Give me the Ravines to send the Eagles crashing back down to earth. My 1-point play, I'll keep it on Thanksgiving. I'm tired of playing games. The Giants suck. Cowboys by 1,000. I hope they spike Tommy DeVito's head right on the star.
Poor guy.
I'm just kidding, Tommy. I'm not rooting against you, but I do like the Cowboys to cover the points. I'll take the boys for 1. I'll take the Ravines for 2. I'll take the Leons for 3.
1, 2, 3-point play.
Donnie.
All right, I agree with Peter. I'm not going to risk more than a point on the Lions. 9.5. It feels like a gimme, but it's Thanksgiving. You never know. So I'm only going to go with 1 point. But really, the Lions.
For you, right?
How are you not going to be picking the Lions really every week the rest of the way? My 2-point play. I like the way the Browns played last Thursday. So they get a little bit of a de facto bye. I like the Broncos, but 5.5 is a little too juicy for me.
Too juicy.
So I like the Browns to cover the 5.5 as a live dog, if you will, as my 2-point play. 1, 2, 3-point play. And my 3-point play, it's time to put up or shut up if you're Cincinnati. I mean, they're home. They've got the Steelers twice. I think they're going to find their way back into this conversation, and it's going to have to begin this week. The Steelers in first place. I think they're going to come back to earth a little bit. It's 3. If there was a hook there, I probably would stay away. But I like the Bengals to win. If I like them to win, I think they'll cover the 3. So I'm going to have the Bengals as my 3-3-point play. So the Lions, 9.5 is my 1-point play. The Browns getting 5.5 is my 2-point play. And Cincinnati, the 3-point favorite at home, is my 3-3-3-point play.
I thought about it, Don. I thought about it. If Cincinnati hadn't just let me down, I did like them, and maybe you'll catch the week that it's right. They've just got me wrong a couple times.
I hear you.
My 1-point play, they haven't played well of late, and I think they're due for a turnaround. And the Jaguars, they stink. And it's just 4 points. Give me the Texans for my 1-point play. The Texans are 11-2 straight up the last 13 games against the Jaguars. They have lost 3 of their past 4 games despite a +3 turnover ratio in that stretch. Give me the Texans over Mac Brown.
I thought about it. I just can't trust the Texans. I just can't.
Well, I do. My 2-point play, I'm going to go with the Commanders, giving 5.5 to the Titans.
Big number.
Now, the Titans are 2.5 against the spread this season. 2.5. Commanders coming off a tough loss I think they're going to be loaded and ready to crush the Titans.
Can I ask a question that I think the audience all wants to know? You said they're 2.5 against the spread. What does that mean?
No, I'm sorry, 2-9 against the spread. I'm sorry.
That's all right. He misspoke.
2-9 against the spread, but they're coming off their best game of the year.
Yeah, good. Then pick the Titans then. I'll give you a chance to change.
I never would because I really, really hope the Commanders win.
Now, I will guarantee every single one of you out there on this Thanksgiving Eve that Peter will not surpass me.
Because you're a gutless puke and you copied my Lions picks all year.
I'm going to take the Lions and give 9.5. And I've got some reasons why.
Because you're a gutless puke.
2004.
Someone who should resign in disgrace.
2004.
If you were the Emperor of Japan, you'd off yourself on television. This is a disgraceful thing that you're doing.
Since 2004, favorites on Thanksgiving are 48-9 straight up and 38-19 against the spread. Favorites of over 10, now that's 9.5, are 9-0 against the spread on Thanksgiving since 2005 and 11-0 against the spread in the wild card era since 1990. Now, there are some discouraging notes, though. Thanksgiving has not been good for Dan Campbell and Jared Goff. They're 0-3 straight up on the holiday, but they are 2-1 against the spread. So, again, my 1-point play, the Texans. My 2-point play, the Commanders. My 3-point play, the Lions.
Three. Don, the best case scenario is that I come in Monday.
And you're 1 point behind.
The Texans lost.
Right.
The Commanders won by 3. And who cares what the Lions do? You know what I mean?
I hear you. I'm worried for you.
Some troubling developments here, guys.
What's troubling?
All right.
Nothing from Joe yet.
No.
And nothing from Ballard.
Oh, but you know who got back to me? With a happy Thanksgiving to boot.
How nice.
Is the manager of your New York Yankees.
Your American League champion New York Yankees.
Who agrees with me, and I got a Watson video to prove it. He's going Browns. That's his pick. The American League champion manager, Aaron Boone, with a happy Thanksgiving, is going with the Cleveland Browns.
I tell you what, I considered that game, and I was going to take the Broncos, so I'm glad I laid off of it. I would not want to go against you and Boone, but I love going against Peter. How about 45, Peter, and 47?
Well, first of all, Bear's riding with the Bills.
Loves the snow. Always has, Bear.
Yeah, he thinks his logic is even in a snow game, he sees this offense not being stopped. 49ers stink. And he's all on board with the Bills. 45 and 47. Let me see. What is he? It's hard. I have to sign into Truth Social to get his picks. It's in DMs.
It's hard.
I love the Falcons. Love them at home. I love Kirk Cousins. He's a good guy. Little religious. Nothing wrong with that. I'm very religious myself. Love all the Bibles. The new, the old, all the Testaments. I'll go with Cousins of Kirk. The Falcons of Atlanta. Lots of strip clubs there. Not that I've been. Falcons. 1.5-point dogs against the Chargers. Is that even a real team? Let's go Falcons.
Beautiful. So Ballard has the nerve to just, ghost us. So he's out. He's out of the pick segment.
And you're sure he didn't know? He did not send picks?
Well, Anthony, do you have a number for Ballard?
I do not. I usually just check his Twitter.
Peter, you have a number for your ex-roommate, right?
Come on, man. This is embarrassing. He's been embarrassing himself. I'm going to write him right now.
Well, the same thing with Joe. It is Wednesday.
Yeah, when do you think we're doing it?
Oh, that's right. I forgot
Don,
about that.
give the same line you gave me.
Yeah, you're right.
With the same kind of nastiness.
Yeah, let's do them on Monday.
Exactly. Come on.
How about Bear? We get Bear?
I did. I gave it.
What was it? Not at that moment.
Bills. The Bills.
I mean, consume the show, Don. It's great today.
I missed Bear's pick. You're lucky I even asked.
I'm lucky.
What did Bear do?
What did Bear do to you?
I'm just saying, if I'm going to miss a part of the show,
it's going to be Bear's pick. What a rip of Bear for no reason. Bear's pick is very important.
Bear is as offended as he is that he made the pick.
This is very good. The person who made me, the three of us as Alvin and the Chipmunks, is
very good.
But he did take it from separate days, so he's very clever, because I'm not wearing that today.
Oh, wow. So it was inspired by my shirt today, yeah. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, we're an eclectic dressing group. And because of that, Peter gets to tell us about FanDuel.
You know what?
too.
Yeah, listen tomorrow.
Wow. 1-800-919-3776. Did you see what Kevin Durant said?
I did not.
He said,
complaining about something.
I'm always a net at heart.
Oh, stop it.
No, that's what he said. Not an Oklahoma City Thunder, not a Warrior, not a Sun. He said, I'm a net at heart.
You know what?
Then why'd you force your way out, Kev?
But it's at heart.
I said, it's weird. Like, I want to like him. He's likable. But he says and does things that really make you pull back on liking him, on loving him.
The only thing more disturbing is what you said in the last segment, Michael.
Which is what?
Because Islanders Mets Jet fan tweeted, is Michael K consuming the Boubange?
What did I say?
He's clearly wearing that shirt today. And I'm looking at the picture. You are.
No. I wore a green sweater. I thought it was a green sweater they had.
No, it's the exact... Peter, it's disturbing. Take a look at the picture, Peter.
All right.
Well, I know the color of the shirt, and this is not the color of the shirt I'm wearing. That's very green.
But it's clearly
No,
the
it's
shirt
not.
you're wearing.
It is not.
It is.
Hold on.
Oh, it is.
Hold on.
Hold on. You're right, it is.
This is super troubling what's just happened here on the show. Michael was claiming that how could you think it was a different shirt?
Because I wore...
The filter does make it a lot brighter.
Yes, the filter makes it... It's just a very pale grayish green. But it comes out. I'm sorry. Listen. When you got me, you got me. But you know what? You're not going to get me over the weekend, Peter, because no matter what happens, I'm still in second place.
You're such a gutless.
Now, here's the question I have, Peter. Was he playing four corners? Did he have that pick before you shouted out in the first segment, Lions, my 3
Of
points?
course I had it.
Peter?
Why don't you ask Anthony
Peter.
Greek? Because Anthony Greek gives me some background on games that I think I'm going to pick.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, this is. I said this is what I'm going to pick, and then he'll send me some background on it. It doesn't influence my pick.
And what you're saying is,
I said, Anthony, I'm taking the Lions. What do you got?
All right, let me ask you this.
Yep.
He knew I was.
Was it your 3-point play?
Oh, sure it was. You know what? That's the beauty of this game. The better you do, the more of a disadvantage. You know, it's like we're looking for parity in this league. So you get to pick first, and then you know what? Caveat emptor.
Well, that's why I've suggested this. We finally do it in the postseason. Is that maybe we have to give our picks in advance so we don't have the Princeton defense that you're throwing out there.
Well, what's the Princeton defense?
Like you're going four corners. You're playing.
No, that's not the Princeton defense. It's the North Carolina offense.
Why are you yelling at Dominic?
Because he just used something that didn't apply. I'm sorry.
No, but he would milk he would milk it down, and before there was a play clock.
No. Dean Smith would actually have people four corners and the point guard dribbling and passing it out to each corner.
Right.
That was before the shot clock. He could keep the ball for a whole half.
Princeton
Pete Carrill at Princeton ran a slow offense, backdoor cuts, and it sometimes took up a lot of time.
Well, that's what
but
I'm
it
talking
wasn't
about.
stalling.
I think.
Wow. This is deep.
It was your pick. Okay, another thing too, like you had the wrong spread. I'm just telling you, I think it was performative. You were given a stat when it was 10.5, and then it became 9.5.
I knew it was 9.5. Maybe even want the pick more. If I had a 4-point play,
that makes sense. But I'm just saying is that I believe you shifted and made it your 3-point play.
Well, how about the week when you and Peter conspired together and took the same picks and the same point?
I mean, listen, it's a similar allegation, but you have nothing to go on with that.
You don't have anything to go on either. So back down.
I have Peter backing me.
Here we go.
Okay.
Who is backing you?
Me.
Who's backing you?
You know what? The honor in my past. That's what's backing me.
Well, I'm not sure. I wouldn't say.
You're saying I'm not honorable.
What's not honorable is you not owning up to it. Doing it's actually very smart and strategic.
No,
I would admire it if you would admit it.
If I did it, I'd admit it.
Peter, your thoughts?
You can't acquit if the glove doesn't fit.
If it doesn't fit, you must
I
quit.
changed it, okay? Johnny Cochran's dead. I can say what I want.
Well, how dare you? Too soon to even talk about it that way. And second of all, no, you can't be trusted. And I gave this pick earlier in the show. You have to remember that. He may have discussed it with Greek, and it still would have been after my info came.
But first of all, I have no respect for you as a picker, so I'm not piggybacking on you if I don't believe in it. The other day, I took a Thursday night pick early in the show. You could have picked against it. You could have picked with it. Don't you dare accuse me of something so nefarious.
Well, it's different for Peter. He's trying to catch up to you. Now you can play it safe. You can enjoy your Thanksgiving. I know how you operate, man. We've been working too long together to fool me. Try to fool everybody else, okay? Fool Anthony, Tom, and Pete. Don't fool me. I know all the tricks.
You think we've been working too long together? Is that what you said?
That's not what I said. I said we've been working so long together.
No,
You're
said
not
too long.
fooling me, man. You're
said
not
too long.
fooling me. You can fool everybody else, maybe even most of the listener, not me.
Yeah.
I know exactly how you operate. And again, I don't even mind it. I think it's strategic. But I know how you work. I know how that mind works. I know you better than Jody knows you.
No, that's not true. Do I know you better than Nancy?
For things like this.
Let's go to Beth in New Jersey. Beth?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Great,
Good, how are
Beth.
you?
How are you?
Good. Happy Thanksgiving Eve. I wanted to get your opinion on the Timo Meyer suspension on the New Jersey Devils because, in all honesty, I don't think if he was a Rangers player, he would have been suspended.
What's the difference? I don't think they play into that. It was a cross check to the head. I love that he did it. I mean, he's defending his players. I think it's fine. It's one game, no big deal. But I had no problem with it. I don't get why you think if it was a Ranger, he wouldn't have gotten suspended.
Because they allow plays that Matt Rempe throws and stuff like that, and I feel like the major was sufficient enough. I feel like the 1-game suspension is overkill.
Well, once you get the major, they're going to look at it, and I was cool with them. But Rempe got suspended. Matter of fact, I think Rempe, because of his antics, he doesn't get the benefit of the doubt. So I would not use that as an example, but I think it was worth it. He's defending his players. It was one game. They'll be all right.
Now,
They'll
our
survive
next caller, Peter, I've got a lot of respect for this guy.
All right.
Taking on the record companies, suing them, feeling he's not getting enough for the art that he's put out there. Here he is, Drake in Poughkeepsie.
Wow.
Hey, Drake, what are you doing to Poughkeepsie?
Hey, guys, can I gobble up?
Yeah, what's up?
Say, Drake.
Hey, I love what Kendrick just said, and I love their Thanksgiving bars, so I'm fine if you want to roast me all you want. Go ahead and,
thank you,
let me
Drake.
up for it. It's fine by me.
No, listen, we love Drake.
I really, yes, that's right. I really loved your 2 picks. I got to say, the only thing that's worth saying about the Chicago Bears is I'll tell you the moment 45 got Linda McMahon. The Lions are going to scorch them. I also like the Dolphins. If we want a dog, take the Dolphins.
I thought about the Dolphins, thought about it to cover that number, but I laid off.
Well, Drake, happy
Well, I
Thanksgiving.
just wanted to make sure that Ebro knows the difference between Vince McMahon and Jim McMahon, because that was troubling last week.
Wait,
and I'm glad we sorted
which
it out.
McMahon did he confuse Vince with?
Of course, your famous Jim McMahon, your favorite.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we needed
He
to,
did.
we needed to quit.
When
We
Linda
needed to merge the two
McMahon was
drops
selected,
together.
when Linda McMahon was selected, Ebro accidentally referred to Vince McMahon as Jim McMahon, which I thought was an interesting slip.
Hey, don't you always do the Thanksgiving bars? How'd that go today?
Yeah, what happened?
You know, it turned out great. I didn't think I was doing it, and then I was touched by an angel, and that angel's name is Kendrick Lamar, and I wrote the song on Monday, got it done by Tuesday, and we debuted it yesterday. Oh, yeah. Tomorrow will be on your Instagram when you wake up in the morning for everyone to enjoy.
Now, is it playable for my children, or is it dirty work?
It's clean. It's clean. It's clean.
You've
clean
always
for the
worked
kids.
clean. That's what I like about you.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the radio,
Yeah.
so you have to do it. I mean, the original recording has curses, but it's a clean edit for the
Yeah,
kids.
Jim Gaffigan of hip-hop.
That's right. By the way, birthday wishes to friend of the show. I'd go as far as calling him friend of the show.
We'll see.
Rich Kleinman.
Oh, yeah. Now, he's friends when he wants to be. When we really need him on, he doesn't come on.
Well, what do you mean when one of his clients is dealing with something and
Yeah.
everybody wants to know what's
Yes.
happening? And he doesn't come on and
but
spill the beans.
A friend would do that. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
when you
true.
say quasi-friend, I'll go with that.
I don't think friend
of
of the show.
convenience.
I don't think a friend of the show would still reveal any major information about their
Well,
client.
let's come
that could
on. Obfuscate.
Yeah.
At least have the decency to obfuscate.
Right. If you're a friend of the show, you'll come on. Listen, I can't talk about that, guys.
But can he talk about why all of a sudden he still considers himself a net? Or whatever the quote was? Can he defend that?
I didn't ask him. I didn't say, hey, happy birthday. How do you feel about Kevin Durant?
No. Why don't you come on?
Well, the big three
Hey,
in
happy
Phoenix
birthday.
are back. today. I think they were back in the previous game, too. So it's the Nets against the Suns tonight. You can watch all of that right here on Yes, if you'd like. Yeah. Yeah. Ed in New Jersey. Ed, I hear tomorrow's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, Thanksgiving birthday.
Oh, that's awesome. You put a candle in the turkey, it's great.
Right.
Yeah, you get a birthday cake too. I'll be 52, by the way, if you're curious.
I was very curious. Happy birthday.
Yeah, and I got one question about the Mets. Who do you think would play right field this year if they don't get Juan Soto?
Probably Starling Marte.
And I wouldn't get rid of Marte. He stinks.
Well, when he's healthy, he
He
doesn't stink.
Why did we think he stink? He was hurt, but he's
the ball
player. He had some big moments in the postseason for them.
Yeah, he was good, particularly in the playoffs. I don't understand.
I don't get it either.
Come on, I'm not kidding around.
It's his birthday.
And another thing.
It's his birthday, Peter.
Yeah, but
who? Joe Biden?
No.
So I don't know if I said this. If I did, I'm sorry. I'm repeating myself. You know, Jody was thinking about throwing me a big birthday party.
Yeah.
And I said, why are you throwing me a big birthday party? She said, well, you're going to be 64. I said, do you don't think I'm going to make it to 65? Why would you do 64?
64 is bigger than 65.
And then she pivoted and she said, the Beatles song, when I'm 64.
Yeah, they don't say when I'm 65.
Yeah, but 65 is the bigger birthday, so why would you throw me a birthday party at 64 unless you don't think I'm going to make it?
Do you know what's amazing about that song?
What's that?
Like, Paul McCartney wrote it. He was like 17 when he wrote it. And imagine how he felt like, wow, I'm going to be 64 one day, and now he's like 80. Like, he just blew past 64. That's such a good song. So, no, Jody's right. 64 is way bigger than 65.
I got to tell you, it's
trouble.
That's very it's specific that people would say. I've never heard anyone say 64 is bigger than 65.
Yeah, I think Don's wrong.
No, but when was that ever a conversation in your world?
It's a clear case of Jody looking at me, knowing I'm not healthy, I work too hard, and she doesn't going to make I'm 65. Because 65 is a clear birthday to have.
Yeah, I mean, listen, both are depressing. You might as well sleep through them, let's be honest.
No, but 65 is not a thing. It's 60 or 70. But if you're going to make it a thing, then I understand what she's saying about 64.
Yeah, I just think she's seeing my demise.
The 5 birthdays can be a thing, although my 45 was low-key.
Oh, the only 5 that matters is the actual 5 for the kid.
That's a big one. That's the biggest 5.
But after that,
you're going to hate that one, Peter. Hate it.
Why?
It's just so depressing because then you're really old.
Oh, my God. Why?
Wait. What do you mean when
you hit
kids
50?
Are 5? Oh, 5
yeah.
up.
50's nothing, Peter. Stop it.
It's awful.
It was. I did not find it to be.
I found it worse than 60.
Well, because that's you.
Because 60, that's 60. I mean, you're already careening down the slope of death.
Oh my
so
God.
50 is really the one.
But do you realize, looking back, how young you were at 50?
Yeah, we celebrated in Dallas. Remember?
No.
I was thinking about that the other day. I'm like, my God, how long we were going to get. I remember his 50th birthday in Dallas. We got him a cake and everything.
Was that the ice bowl?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was like 13, going on 14 years ago, man. That's crazy.
I see. Here's the thing, Michael. If Yes pulls up a picture of Michael from that year when he was 50, you're going to look at how young you were and go, "Why was I depressed?"
It would be the exact same thing of Peter with the Redskin pennant. It's the same. It's the same feel.
You'll see, Peter. You think I'm lying? You'll see.
No, I saw much more sooner than him. I'm 56. It was nothing, Peter. Nothing. 60, I anticipate, is going to be a problem because there's no getting around it. But 60, but 50, come on. Gordie Howe is playing in the NHL at 50. Stop it.
So this guy, NYJ Matt, he's going back and forth with fans, and this guy Don Jones says these are the clowns that hate on Rodgers every chance they can. What I would ask Don is, are we out of line? Has he been good for the Jets? Did we miss something? I mean, I can see like if we're stepping out and we start ripping Jalen Brunson. Nah, I think you got a bit of a complaint then. I mean, ripping Aaron Rodgers, I don't think we're putting ourselves out on a limb. What's wrong with people?
I think there's a different political motivation behind the support of Aaron.
But we don't even know who he leans toward politically.
No, but there's one specific thing that anybody that's hanging on with Aaron Rodgers, it can't be a Jet fan because he's been terrible for the Jets.
No, this
Packer
was a Jet
fans are
fan.
over it.
This guy's a Jet fan.
But I don't think
those are the guys that kill Aaron Rodgers.
I don't think he's backing him because of the. Why would you back him because you're a Jet fan? He's got one foot out the door. He hasn't done anything for you. I think there's one aspect of his rants that he's hanging on.
Why don't we bring in Richard in Manhattan?
Why not?
Well, there's nothing like a Richard call right before Thanksgiving.
Oh, fellas, thank you. The Super Bowl, Buffalo and Detroit. You realize you have two teams. Detroit hasn't won an NFL championship in 68 years. Buffalo hasn't won a championship in the AFL since 65. That's a total of 128 years, the two teams combined. That's got to be a record in any sport. I'm wondering, tonight the NHL has 30 out of 32 teams playing. NBA has 28 out of 30. But not one game for tomorrow. Not even a college football game tomorrow or a college basketball. I don't understand what the intimidation factor
because of the NFL.
is for the
They'll get
NFL.
no ratings.
But they're bad games, Mike.
Doesn't matter. The NFL could put crap on the air and it's going to get 20 million people.
I would watch the Knicks in Dallas tomorrow or a good college
Richard,
football
you would admit
game.
that you're a little different.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, but these are bad games. You're going to watch Drew Lock tomorrow? I mean, these are maybe the Green Bay game out in cold weather against Miami. That'll be.
Now, Richard, we talked about being cruel to people on Thanksgiving.
Right.
You really think we need to send a whole crew of ESPN people to God knows where for a college basketball game that draws 200,000?
And also, Richard, I got you beat on the drought thing. That pales in comparison to the 16 World Series when it was the then Cleveland Indians versus the Chicago Cubs, 1948 and 1908.
And, Richard, you have Memphis Tulane tomorrow in college football, so you could tune into that.
Say bang.
7 p.m. ESPN.
Bang.
And you were Peter, you were mentioning the Lions as a favorite. You know, they have the best record in the NFL against the spread the last 3 years, 33-12, which translates to 11-4. Nobody's even close to the Lions. So they've been underestimated for 3 years in a row. It's unbelievable. Fellas, one last thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know, we always talk about how great Lawrence Taylor was, but people forget there was a linebacker who preceded Lawrence Taylor. Of course, he wasn't as good, but he was the first linebacker in the NFL who teams had to put the tight end and a tackle on. He used to rush the passer. He was the first rushing linebacker. He was great. Peter, Don, do you know who that was? Your father would have remembered, but I want to see if you remembered.
Oh, I'm trying to. Was it?
I'll give you a hint.
Yeah.
He had an unorthodox linebacker number.
Was it Ray Nitschke?
No, Ray Nitschke couldn't rush the quarterback. All right, give you another hint. He was very, very tall.
Answer.
Oh,
Ted Hendricks,
the Raider.
the man
Yeah, that's it.
Yes.
The Stork.
First, the Baltimore Colts. That guy was fantastic.
Yeah, he
could have been Lawrence
Happy
Taylor.
Thanksgiving. He was not Lawrence
I can't
Taylor.
believe
Nobody's Lawrence Taylor.
I can't believe we didn't hear the music.
Yeah, I mean, that's a
Something's
playoff
going
for
on.
sure.
Something's going on with the draw. I'm going to just assume that something wrong with the computer.
All right, we'll be
There's
back
Enco
again tomorrow at 3
problems,
o'clock. Special Thanksgiving show.
Yes.
Everybody have the most wonderful time. If you're with family and friends, if you're traveling, please be careful. The whole deal.
We'll talk to you tomorrow on the big show.
Yeah, we're going to talk to you tomorrow on the big show. But we want you to know, all three of us want you to know, we love you. We really do. Because as much as you say we do for you, you guys do for us as well.
You're our family, man. We appreciate you. You have a lot of choices. You choose us. Thank you.
Yeah.
We love you all. Appreciate it. It's been such an exciting time recently, and all the support from everyone's been fantastic. Super grateful for you guys.
And we got another 2 months of people calling
Even Anthony
up.
and Tom.
Yes,
calling up and saying, congratulations, Peter and Natalie. Billy Joel, take us away.
That's a wrap on the show for today. Coming up next, center stage, Bill Parcells. For all of us here on the Michael K. Show, this is Chris Sheeran saying have a great night. Enjoy the Nets game. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. We will see you Monday at 3 o'clock.